Episode 1313, ladies and gentlemen. It's a number. It's a very important number.
Very important.
Tell me why.
Why 1313 is important?
Yes.
Well, we got two 13s back to back, so it doubles the normal potency of 13, which is already a mystical number, which terrifies people in the West. They think it's unlucky, but in Tibetan Buddhism, it's considered a very lucky and auspicious number.
Yeah, I was staying in a hotel in Vegas. They have no 13th floor, and I don't think they had a 4th floor either.
The 4th?
Yeah, there's something about some cultures. The number 4 is unlucky.
How many cultures do we get to influence our buildings these days? That's what's crazy. And what's crazier is at some point, someone convinced a person, listen, can we just not do a 13th floor? And they listened to him. I'm like, all right, I guess we'll just go from 12 to 14.
Shooter Jennings has it in a song. When I check in to 1410, I know what room I'm really in.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's what's so funny about it is because, like, that's the whole problem, isn't it? Is like people want to pretend they're not in the 13th floor when they fucking know they are.
Right.
Instead of just acknowledging, this is where I'm at.
No. We're in the 14. We're 14.
It's 14. Call it the 14th floor. Just call it and they'll be that. Dude, when I was in college, we had to do service for, like, to get the degree. You had to go do, like, service overseas. So we went to India, to Dharamsala, and we taught the monks English. And I was sitting with, like, listening, overhearing a monk in a conversation with someone teaching him English, and the person's trying to explain to him how there isn't a 13th floor in buildings in the West. And the monk was like, does it levitate? Like, is it missing? How do they do it? He was genuinely perplexed. It was like a magical thing. Yeah.
Well, in a culture that forces its citizens, if they want to run the country, you have to believe in something that, whether you're a Christian or whether you're a Baptist or Mormon, whatever you are, there's certain parts of your religion that if you just don't want to analyze them, just want to put them out on paper, I'm going to say, okay, did this really happen? Did this guy really die and come back to life? Is everybody agreeing on this? Everyone's agreeing that a guy became a zombie and he came back 3 days later, and we're cool with that. This is a part of the doctrine. So this is like a part of running the country. I don't think you can be an atheist in this country. I don't think we would let you run it.
I think you do have to have some affiliation with some religion or another.
Something.
Yeah, and yet right now it seems to be like it needs to be Christianity. Like there needs to be like every president that has aligned themselves with.
It's like we're trapped in this thing that you are when you're young. You know this thing you are when you're young, where you're looking at the people that are older than you. You're looking at society and you're like 16 and you're just starting to think, God damn, I'm going to be graduating from high school soon. What am I going to do with my life? You know, you're filled with so much angst.
Yeah.
But you always think, yeah, this shit doesn't make any sense, but one day it will. And one day we'll be the grown-ups.
Yeah.
And we'll be the ones that get to make the rules, and we'll go, hey, we're doing things all wrong, folks. We're doing things out of momentum rather than out of logic. But that time never comes. And then all of a sudden you're like you or I, where you're middle-aged.
Yeah.
We're middle-aged men. Yeah. I'm a 51-year-old man. I'm
45.
Almost 52. We're middle-aged. If we're lucky. If we're super lucky. Reality, we're closer to death.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. So, and we're still trapped by this thing where you have to pretend you absolutely know. Look, live your life like Jesus is real. Live your life like you want to follow those tenets. And you'll probably live a better life. Like, if you really follow the actual true tenets of Christianity. But if you really want to believe that a guy came back to life and that only happened once and that you have to follow this book.
Yeah.
And if you don't follow this book that was clearly written and rewritten and fucked with by people, and you know that people are known liars.
Yeah.
Like, why do we have court? Because people lie. What really happened? You have to fucking get a bunch of people to sit down and figure out what really happened. Because this guy's saying, I didn't do anything, Your Honor.
Yeah.
And they got prints and DNA.
Yeah.
And in that world of known liars, we believe a crazy story that was written when people had no science. But we accept it because we think it makes the world a better place.
Yeah, man. It's nuts. And there's like so many levels of that. Where it's like, yeah, that's one obvious level that if you want to take Jesus literally, which is you have to in certain forms of Christianity, you're going to have to deal with some pretty severe cognitive dissonance. You'll be taught maybe to question your instincts, but then go one step deeper and start thinking, because the real question is, well, what is real? Like, I mean, there's obvious shit that's clearly bullshit.
Yeah.
But wait, then when you start going down, you realize, like, you get to the point of the self. Mm-hmm. And then you start realizing that the self and this Jesus that everyone believes in are very similar in the sense that, like, you know, I don't say I believe in gravity. You would think I was crazy if I said, it would be a crazy thing to say, like, you know, I believe there's gravity. There is gravity. It's testable. It works. But what do you always hear when people are like, if you want to succeed, what do? You believe in yourself. And it's like, wait, what do you mean believe in yourself? I am a self. Why do I have to believe in it, right? So that...
It's a clunky way of saying self-doubt is crippling.
Well, the self-doubt, rejection, I hate myself, I love myself. All these things have within it this concept of the self. And a lot of folks have not spent much time really exploring, like, well, what is the self? Like, what is my particular self? And I think it kind of reminds me of when we were Sasquatch hunting. You know, the self or the many people's self is very similar to Bigfoot.
Yeah.
It's a thing that they imagine that there's signs of, but they've never really quite seen the Bigfoot, you know?
Right.
But, you know, remember the feather in the trail. It's a gift. It means he likes you.
Yeah. They would think that Sasquatches were taking and leaving gifts, taking their gifts and leaving their own gifts, swapping gifts.
Yeah. And
they believed it.
They believed it.
They believed it the same way people believe in a religion, you know?
Yeah.
I had a friend, and she was a Mormon. I've told the story before, so forgive me if you've heard it. She was a Mormon, but I think it's important. And she was a devout her whole life, and then the family just fell out of it. And then they started realizing, like, they started going into the history of it, and they started thinking it was preposterous. It was right around when Book of Mormon was coming out, too. You know, that hilarious musical.
I didn't see it.
It's great. It's really good. But she was really honest about it. She was like, the problem is, like, growing up in that fundamentalist background, it makes me very susceptible to, like, healers and, like, psychics and clairvoyants and bullshit artists, spiritual people. She's like, I get sucked into bullshit. And she was, like, almost kind of upset.
Yeah.
I mean, no, not almost. Like, she was kind of upset, but, like, perplexed. Like, how do you rewire yourself when you've been trained to believe that a 14-year-old boy in 1820 found golden tablets that contained the lost work of Jesus, and that all the Native Americans were the lost tribe of Israel?
Oh, my God.
I mean, that's the story, right? A 14-year-old boy. He had a magic rock. He was the only one who could read it.
It's crazy.
She started looking into it.
And she's out.
Gone. Gone.
And that's sad too, man, because, like, if you could take some, like, basic tenets, which are true and not based on, it kind of reminds me of, like, you know, you hear someone, he's taking ayahuasca, and he comes to you, and he's got a profound message that came to him from some mythological creature. A dragon, a butterfly has told him some kind of profound fucking thing. Yeah. And you realize, the bubble machine of profundity.
You got a bubble machine for 1313 episodes.
Yeah, whenever we're talking about...
It's cool. I like it.
It's so wonderful.
Let's keep it rolling.
So, you know...
Don't get caught up in popping them, though.
I know, that's a problem of getting too high. You're like, fuck talking.
Them.
What are we doing? Let's just pop bubbles.
Let's let the bubbles fly.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like, for them to really, like, take in the basic wisdom they got from the mythological creature... They needed a mythological creature. The mythological creature said something to them along the lines of, you need to love yourself more. You need to give more to your community, whatever the message is. But if your Uber driver said that to you, it wouldn't get through because it wasn't, like, phosphorescent. It didn't have multiple heads. So similarly, with these religions, what happens is you do get some real transcendent wisdom that's sort of timeless mixed in with it. And then the people, because they realize like, oh my God, it was kind of a fairy tale, they also reject the good stuff inside of it. And that to me is the big tragedy of any kind of fundamentalist, literalist interpretation that's being forced on people, is because within that is inevitably something great, or it wouldn't be so viral. Like Christianity wouldn't be here right now if there wasn't a core thread in it that had a beautiful message in it.
It makes people nicer people. I actually had a really big conversation this weekend with a very good friend about it, about another very good friend who's very religious. And we were saying, like, I think for some people it's an amazing framework and a guide to live your life. I really do believe that. I have several friends that are very devout Christians.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And they're the nicest people I know. And Mormons, by the way. I have friends that are Mormons. Still to this day, I have several friends that are Mormons. And they're some of the nicest people.
Yeah.
And I don't care if they believe something that I don't believe in. That's okay. It's okay. It is okay. But, I mean... the idea that everyone is supposed to buy into stuff without questioning it is the reason why we are 51-year-old, 16-year-olds.
Dude, I agree. And then there's the deeper symbolic shit that seems to be encoded in Christianity, whether from people projecting their own understanding on a pretty wild symbol set, or maybe it was intentional. Either way, there's like a cool, like, you know, if we talked about this, like, if you take a cube and unfold it, it makes a crucifix, and like the cube represents pre-Big Bang conditions.
Whoa. And
the crucifix represents past, present, and future intersecting with eternity. And
so if you have a square, I get it. So the length, the height is twice as the width.
Yeah.
Okay.
It unfolds into a crucifix.
For people that are annoyed with that sound, it sounds like a pencil sharpening over and over and over again. We're sorry.
Sorry about that, y'all, but bubbles don't come free. You need a machine. You gotta have a...
We could hire somebody. Hire some dude. Just blow bubbles. What do you do? I blow bubbles on the JRE, bro. Some like fucking manly wrestler dude.
I would do that, man. I would definitely do that.
Yeah, different people come in and blow bubbles. And occasionally they chime in, hey, I'm going to be on the JRE next week. What are you doing? I'm blowing bubbles. Oh, cool. You're the bubble blower for the week.
You could start something that became, like, that's just what people do. It's like, did you get your bubble man yet?
Right.
Yeah. I'm a classic bubble man. I know how to do it. The new guys, they're too loud when they blow.
Well, did Johnny Carson, was Ed McMahon the first sidekick? Well. Did Jack Parr have a sidekick?
I don't know.
Yeah, well, how many options were before that? Ed Sullivan and...
Well, there was the other guy, Steve Allen. I think Steve Allen might have been the first. Was he the first Tonight Show or the second Tonight Show? Yeah, but I think that Ed McMahon was probably the first sidekick. And once they had a sidekick, people were like, oh, yeah. You need a sidekick.
You do. You need somebody to play that part, because you can bounce stuff off of them. It's so great. The reaction.
Yeah.
So much better than a laugh track.
Yeah.
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 So Christianity, it's on one level, are you fucking kidding me? It's like, and I had this nerdy part of me, man, when you were doing the Jesus is a zombie thing. I really wanted to be like, well, technically, not a zombie.
Not a zombie?
I don't think so, because he was buried, right? Like he did come back to life.
But dude, there's a move in jiu-jitsu called the zombie.
Yeah.
And what the zombie is when you're in mission control and you're trying to get an underhook, you push your hand through like a zombie rising through the ground. So zombies get buried.
Yeah, but I guess, you know what, I don't want to get into like a deep comment, but why not? Let's break it down. So what is a zombie? Like when is it just a person who's like severely disabled, and when is it a zombie? Well, you know what I mean? Like, well,
if they're dead. They're dead, they die, their heart stops beating. But the doctor says they're dead.
You would be like a complete asshole if you're like, they have the same intelligence as humans. There's some brain damage that's happened to a zombie, right?
Most movies.
It's a person with brain damage.
Is there any zombie movies where they're smart?
That's just every movie.
Yeah, but I guarantee, like, there's zombie movies where they run fast.
That was an evolution of the zombie. It
Yes.
started running. The zombie became like kind of like hyper violent, and then, but still, I guess what they all have in common is that they're dead in the sense they don't have a heartbeat. They're not dead. Like a biologist would be like, the zombie is alive.
Right.
It's just like a fungus now or
It's
something.
running through a parasite inside of it, essentially.
Yeah, it's some kind of fungus.
Rabies.
Yeah, some new rabies
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
gut biome problem.
What was the 28 days later? Is that it? Yeah.
20
that was the
it.
first one where they ran.
Yeah, and that was the
God, that
scariest.
was good.
Fucking awesome.
That
Running
movie
zombies.
was so good.
So good.
And it was also shaky. Like when
Yeah.
the zombies were chasing after you, you'd fucking panic because the screen was shaking when it was running at you.
Yeah.
They were the first like berserker zombies.
You know, man, all this gut biome stuff that we're hearing now, like the study, I just read about the study today, like they found out that what the gut biome, what you're feeding your baby affects their, there seems to be a correlation between their gut biome and the way they act when they're like 5 or something, or 2 years old or something.
Sure, dude.
And the autism link, you know, where they're saying they think autism might be related to like,
Well, who's saying that?
Jamie, would you mind pulling that up before I fucking
There's a guy
embarrass myself?
named Dr. Peter Hotez, and he was on the podcast, and he is an expert in autism and vaccines and diseases in foreign countries, particularly tropical diseases and warm, moist climate diseases.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how they've got it narrowed down to 5 environmental factors that happen during the womb that they think possibly contribute to autism.
Yeah.
But they don't think that it comes from something that happens later.
Huh.
This is current science, according to him. Obviously, I don't know what I'm talking about, like, for sure.
Neither.
I'm not a biologist at all.
People looking at us are probably like, how do these scientists not know this?
I should barely be able to say those words in order
Yeah.
and pretend like I know what they mean. But I listen to experts. The mother's microbiome, the collection of microscopic organisms that lives inside of us, is a key contributor to the risk of autism. So that might be one of the factors. So it's during the womb. And neurodevelopmental disorders in offspring. Well, it would make sense that if your body's not getting the proper nutrition and your body's not healthy, that whatever's going on inside of you is not going to be the best environment for a baby to reach 100% health.
Yeah.
It just makes sense. If you're eating terrible
Yeah.
while you're pregnant, it's not going to be good for the kid. But if you're eating really well and you're relaxing and taking care of yourself, it's probably better for the kid. I mean, this seems like obvious. It doesn't seem to make any sense that that wouldn't be the case.
I think the weird part of it, to me, this runs into like ideas of free will or like autonomy in the sense that how much is the gut and the neurons in the gut and the neurons in the heart and all the interactions they're having with things that have different DNA than us affecting what we do. And like
They think a lot.
that's so weird.
I think it contributes to depression.
Yeah. And it contributes to what else? Autism? What other behaviors? Or in other words, are we just essentially being driven around by some kind of strange, microscopic hive of creatures living in our shit?
In some way, yeah. But Brian Callen had a pretty bad case of psoriasis. Kept coming back. It's nasty. Really bothered him. Tried a bunch of stuff. Couldn't get it fixed. Went to one doctor who's a specialist in gut biome and its connection to autoimmune disorders. And the guy fixed him up. Just changed up his probiotics, like what he's taking, prebiotics and probiotics. Gave him some like heavy duty shit. I forget exactly what he said, but it fixed it. And it was basically something going on in his gut biome. And that can be affected by stress.
Yeah.
It can be affected by lack of sleep. There's all sorts of stuff that goes on in your body. Like, we have to think of ourselves as a superorganism, like essentially like an ecosystem. We have to think of ourselves as like, you think of yourself as you. Hey, it's me, it's Joe, it's Duncan, we're talking, we're friends. Hey, what's up, buddy? But really what we are is the keepers of the realm Okay,
Yeah.
we got a whole realm of things living inside of our body, and we're feeding it Twinkies, and it's freaking out. And it's like, you fucking moron. Yeah, but I like what it feels like when Twinkies go in my face. Yeah. So your fucking knees hurt all the time.
Yeah.
Your back is killing you. You have all these inflammation problems, getting zits, and you're 40 years old. Like, what the fuck? It's because you're eating dog shit, man. You're not giving your body anything good. You're the keeper of the realm.
And also, this is something I've been thinking about, is like how much data we're eating, which is equivalent to Twinkies. It's like you eat a bunch of Twinkies, your body starts hurting, then you're just slurping up whatever the fuck on the phone, right? Which by the way, I'm talking about me. This is what I do. My bouncing around from like Drudge Report to Huffington Report to Reddit Conspiracy to Reddit What the Fuck, zip popping. How long before you're looking at like a zip popping video, and then that takes you down into a place of like, oh, let's just move to animal cysts, and then you fall asleep, you wake up screaming, and that's the equivalent of getting like gas, isn't it, from eating like a huge Taco Bell meal. Only instead of farting, you're just screaming in the middle of the night because you dreamed a cult was dragging you into the forest. It's like, this is, to me, we seem to have not quite acknowledged that data is as much is like a food, and that so much of the weirdness that is people are showing these like strange behaviors, it's got to be because of the crazy shit they're sucking into their optic nerves, right?
It is. It's also the ability to affect people very rapidly, whether to get a reaction from someone, positive or negative. People are so addicted to that.
Yeah.
I watch people getting these Twitter beefs back and forth, and fucking smart people, man. A smart friend of mine who I respect greatly tried to get me to retweet something mean that he was saying to someone else. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing with your time? We get one thing that I've done over the last week. We did a podcast with Bert and Tom and Ari, and we all looked at the amount of screen time we put on our phone, because Ari was proposing no smartphones.
Yeah.
My fucking screen time was like 4 hours for a day. I was like, what? And I'll lie to myself and I'll say, most of that's email and taking care of business.
Yeah, me too.
No, most of it is going through Google Newsfeed looking for crazy stories of like animal attacks.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm always looking at, man. I watched a video today of a guy riding his dirt bike and a bear's chasing him. I'm like, what in the fuck? What is happening?
Look, man, I don't want to try to like enable your addiction, but honestly, I think the internet has come to depend on your wild animal attack videos. Like, you have kind of become like a news outlet for the best wild animal attacks.
People need to know.
People need to see this shit, man. Like, we don't know. I've never seen a vulture fight a rabbit or out of.
People do have a very weird idea of what animals are, and I think that the average person, I'm certainly no expert, but amongst the average person, I have a much better understanding of wildlife because I'm out in the wild several times a year hunting. It's a different world. I'm no expert, but my perception of it is as someone who sees wildlife in the wild. I see dead ones that other ones have killed. We came across a calf that had been ripped apart by wolves. I mean, we see stuff, and you realize what that is. what that fucking forest really is.
Yeah.
It's this competing ecosystem of life, and it's going on all the time, and there's big things jacking smaller things, and there's birds snatching things off the ground and snatching other birds out of trees, and it's happening all the time, and it's magic, and you have to have it that way because otherwise the whole population of the planet would be overrun. You have to have your sorrow of watching the bear tear apart the fawn. That has to happen, because if it didn't happen, you'd have too many fawns. They'd be everywhere. You'd have too many deer. And you have to have someone who can take care of the bears. Otherwise, the bears will overrun the city where the humans live. And we need to think about that. And people don't want to, because they don't want to shoot Yogi. They don't want to shoot Yogi and Boo Boo. They're our friends. This is a teddy bear. I grew up with a bear. You don't know what a bear is. I've seen a bear in the wild. When you see a bear in the wild, you're like, oh, you don't give a fuck about me. You're some weird, heartless beast that is majestic looking, who runs around eating moose and deer babies. That's what your deal is. You eat grass and berries, and you like to lay around. You're fucking cool as shit. It's a cool-ass animal.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you hate it, but you got to understand what the fuck it is. It's not like this idea like people don't want people to hunt bears in certain places, like particularly like they're trying to regulate the size of the amount of grizzly bears in certain parts of the country. They're like, hey, we need to keep a handle on this. Like, a couple people get mauled, people start walking through Yellowstone and get attacked. It happens like a little bit more rapidly. The numbers get to a certain, they're like, these things have no fear of people. Like, we could actually help the population if they hand out bear tags, and people start freaking out. You can't kill the bears. You can't kill the bears. Don't you kill the bear. There's a reason why there's no fucking bears in California, Duncan. Only black bears. Our fucking state flag has a grizzly bear on it. Did you ever notice that?
No.
Yeah, the state flag is a grizzly bear. They eradicated all the grizzly bears because they were eating people. So in the fucking 1800s, dude, there's a town. I think it's called Levesque. It's out near, like, on the way to Bakersfield.
Yeah.
Lebec. I think it's called Lebec. It's a town named after the last dude that got killed by a grizzly bear in California. Yeah, and to investigate this, they exhumed his body, and his legs were fucking ripped apart. Like, his knees were snapped in half and shit. I mean,
you have to destroy this tape.
He got torn apart by a bear, and they killed the bear, and they buried him, and that was the last bear. That was the last bear attack. They killed all the bears. The reason why they killed all the bears is because that's what you have to do, you fuck. Do you want to be able to walk to your car?
Yes.
Okay, you don't want bears in Santa Monica. Okay, shut up. Just shut up. We're going into their territory, man. They'll come into yours too. Okay? Stop. Don't be silly. We definitely shouldn't kill all the bears. But should kill a few. Should definitely kill some. Should kill some wolves too.
I disagree, Joe. We have to keep everything alive.
I'm going to bring back pterodactyls.
I wouldn't mind that.
Snatching people right off of cars.
Well, come on. They could be controlled. Come on. They could be controlled. Put them in some kind of domed, I don't know, a padded dome.
We never knew they were bulletproof.
Bring them back. Fuck it.
People shoot down them, bullets just bouncing down, hitting people on the ground. They have Kevlar skin.
It's I saw something, your podcast, it's like everywhere now. It's like dandelions. You can't anywhere. I'm always getting suggested videos from your podcast. And I saw one because I've been cutting down my meat consumption.
Good for you.
And but that doesn't mean I don't eat meat. I just want to cut it down a little bit. And I have been feeling a kind of enjoyable from time to time sense of, that, I don't know if you let yourself do this, you probably don't, but that feeling of like kind of bullshit, like, I'm a little better now. Right?
Yeah, I'm a little better of a person.
And I was really like, it wasn't like overt. It wasn't like hyper obnoxious,
right.
But just a kind of sense of like, I did it. I cut down my beef consumption and I'm eating, a cheese here and there. And anyway, this video popped up and it's some guest, I don't know who it was, talking about the number of animals that die in a bean field. Like any bean field that you see, so many animals just ground up and murdered. And it was great because I realized like, oh, of course, yeah, right. The trick I was trying to play on myself is the same. It's the 13th floor shit. It's like, I want the world to look like a Disney film.
But it's a bit of a cop-out, even saying that, my saying that, because the reality is there's another solution. The solution is organic gardening, right? So you can organically garden. If you get a plot of land and get some friends together, you could all grow enough vegetables so that you don't have to take place in with large-scale agriculture. Or if you're dealing, rather, with large-scale agriculture. That's the problem. The problem is we have to feed... just in LA alone, the greater Los Angeles area, what is it, like 20 million something people? That's so many goddamn people. And no one's growing anything other than weed. So what do we have? What do we have? We have someone has to grow this fucking food for us. So they have to do it large scale. Yeah. And when they do it large scale, it involves combines. And those fucking things are indiscriminate. They're just chewing up the ground. And things get caught up in it. And that's why when they clean fields, when they pick whatever they're growing, you always see vultures. After they run the combine, you see vultures circling the fields because they know rabbits and rats and
Jesus, man.
All kinds of bugs. I mean, any kind of I don't know if you care about bugs, that's a weird thing, right? It's like some vegans will get to this like line where they're like, yeah, but that's a mosquito. Oh, fuck mosquitoes. Yeah. They have malaria. You get to like a life form ethical boundary where you can't relate to a roach.
Also, the hilarious thing when it comes to assigning levels of sentience and then based on that deciding if you should eat something or not, you run into like a lot of weird problems, which is like, number one, you're assuming a lot, just
Yeah.
because they don't have this sort of nervous system you have. I mean, and who knows? We project most of everything we are into the world, and we don't really know what the phenomena is. But I saw some like video of an ant taking care of the ant's baby, and I don't know if you've probably heard about how trees communicate with the
Mycelium?
Yes,
Yeah.
and like how they'll send nutrients to their children,
Yeah.
and then you start running into I think, which is a really fascinating problem, which is what if it's all alive and sentient and feeling for real? What if there is throughout the entire universe just a sentient field of consciousness that is interacting with matter in a way that it produces what we call life, and that life is feeling terror, love, maybe in different ways than we would understand it, but it's still there.
That's really under consideration by legitimate scientists. In fact, Sam Harris's wife just wrote a book about that.
Oh, really?
It's one of the subjects it's called Conscious. And conscious or consciousness? Sorry, I don't remember which. I haven't read it yet, but I heard them talk about it on his podcast. And the concept that used to be like super woo-woo was, what if everything has consciousness?
Yeah.
What if everything had, but it just, it can't move, it can't express itself, it can't change its environment. It's limited. Just
Yeah.
like we can't fly and we can't swim underwater and breathe water. Like we're limited in our physical abilities,
Right.
but we assume that whatever limitations that we have, like this is where it ends. This is where the buck stops here.
Yeah.
Like everything that doesn't move has got to be stupid.
That's it,
But
yeah.
it might not be, which is one of the reasons why nobody wants to buy a house after someone's been killed in it. Right? Like what if that house retains memory? That was something that Rupert Sheldrake proposed a long time ago. He's got that, what is that very strange theory where everything is connected? Morphic resonance, I think it's
Yeah.
called. Theory of morphic resonance. He's a fascinating guy. And he's like a guy who's not afraid to take some chances and say some really woo-woo shit.
Yeah.
And I think he's a Christian as well.
Yeah, I love his book. I think you're the one who was telling me some of the studies are not so great in it, though.
Well, it wasn't that I said that; it's that other people had complained
Oh,
about
right.
that,
Yeah.
and they because there's some studies that apparently people lean on that aren't super legit, like the dog knowing you're coming home one.
yeah.
Like, you got to replicate that shit because, first of all, the guy might have a loud car. Dogs can hear shit way better than you can.
Yeah.
Like, how far away is the guy when the dog starts going towards the door? Or does the guy just come home every night and the dog has like an internal clock and he knows, hey, it's 5 o'clock. Mike must be coming home.
Yeah.
Like, if you come, have they replicated this for 11:30? What if Mike starts coming home in a Tesla where you can't hear shit?
Who knows?
What if he comes home? Does the dog actually know he's coming, or is the dog just hearing things? The dog hearing a door, a car.
I mean, it's almost doesn't always kind of seem like the most boring possible solution is usually the right one. It's like,
Yeah.
what's the most boring thing? The most boring thing is nothing's happening, but you're imagining the dog is somehow has a
That's-
telepathic link to you.
Occam's razor, right?
Yeah, Occam's the simplest, but it's also the most boring. Like, these crazy fucking UFOs. I'm sorry if you've talked about this a bunch on the podcast, but the UFOs that we're seeing, that the Navy is releasing these videos of these Tic Tacs zipping around, and it's Navy pilots. It's not the people we interviewed in that show. It's Navy pilots who are like, yeah, I don't know what the fuck this is, and I have great conversations with Uber drivers, and like we were talking about it, and this guy was like, and a lot of them are programmers and shit, and this guy was like, it's probably it's a glitch in the type of radar they're using. I think it must be a glitch. I mean, that's the most likely reality. They're not seeing it with their own eyes.
They're not?
I don't think so. I think they're just picking it up on radar, and so he's like, maybe it's a glitch, or maybe it's like,
We should find that out. Can you Google if the pilots were picking it up on radar? The pilot spotted UFO to see if because I know some guys have spotted things with their own eyes. I know for sure some guys have.
I'm not sure if the data set. I think
it's probably relevant to the conversation, though. It's probably a good thing that we know. People listening going, yeah, what the fuck? I get super skeptical. I feel like almost like it's a plot. I don't want to go full Eddie Bravo, but I feel like when I see people talking about UFOs, I'm like, okay, what else is going on? What are you distracting me from? Mm-hmm. Is this really a big issue? I was like, is it really happening? Well, can I see it? What do you got? Got nothing? Oh, you got like some radar. You got radar from 1, 2 pilots, 3 pilots. Okay, I believe it. but I want to see more. Why do I want to see more? Like, what am I? And you'll get caught up in it. It'll chew up hours of your day.
Yeah, man.
There's a lot of those guys that we ran into on that show. I felt bad for them because they didn't understand what had happened to them. They had gotten caught in this weird loop of looking for secrets and looking for mysteries to be solved and looking for hidden conspiracies. And they get caught in that. And some of that shit is real, which is part of the problem. Some of it you can come across, the Gulf of Tonkin and the Northwoods, Operation Northwoods. You can come across a bunch of them that are real. Enron, you can see how they put that together. You're like, what? You could see real crazy conspiring.
Yeah.
And then you can get lost and think it's everywhere.
That's right. Yeah, well, I mean, this is like, dude, I was just...
What is this, Jamie? Oh, according to Day, the AAVs, what does that mean?
Is that the
Is that a
new
new
UFO?
word? How about you say UFO, you fucks?
Come on, yeah. Are we really going to change UFO?
They have their own little thing. We're AAVs. We don't refer to us as UFOs. These are my pronouns. The AAVs appeared at an altitude greater than 80,000 feet, far higher than commercial or military jets typically fly. Initially, the Princeton's radar team...
It's a radar, really high process, or Prince Story is what it's called. It's like a really high processing radar system or something.
Why is it spelled Princeton? If it's Prince Story.
Yeah, no, it is Princeton. It's just that apostrophe is in a weird spot.
Oh, okay. The radar team didn't believe what they were seeing, chalking up the anomalies to an equipment malfunction. But after they determined that everything was operating as it should, they began detecting instances which the AAVs, I want to know what the fuck that means, dropped with astounding speed to lower, busier airspace. Day approached the Princeton's commander about taking action. He said, I was chomping at the bit. I really wanted to intercept these things. What?
Yeah.
That's we have the fucking craziest people in this country.
I know.
Like, there's an alien, man. I want to chase it. I want to catch it by
that
the tail.
motherfucker. I was
I'm gonna catch it by the tail.
Put it in a fucking
Anomalous
suit.
aerial vehicles. Get
come
the
on,
fuck out of
you
here.
dick.
There's already a name for it.
Whoever invented that new name is an ass.
He's an asshole.
Give us a break.
I was actually the one who decided to call them AAVs.
Oh, come on.
Technically, it's not an unidentified flying object.
You're not taking our fucking UFOs, man. I'm going to fight that.
What is it again? What is the exact phrase?
Anomalous aerial vehicle.
Anomalous aerial vehicle.
It's an AAV.
You're an asshole.
It's
Anomalous. It's an anomaly.
I want to propose a new name for UFOs. Anonymous aerial vehicles.
It's probably a part of $1 billion study. Two fighters were diverted to intercept one of the strange objects. When they first arrived on the scene, the pilots didn't see any flying objects, but they did observe what the lead pilot, Commander David Fravor, later referred to as a disturbance in the ocean. The water was churning with white waves breaking over what looked like a large object just under the surface.
Yeah.
Then they noticed one of the objects flying about 50 feet above the water. Fravor, the commander of the elite Black Aces Squadron, this is a goddamn Nicolas Cage movie, who is a Top Gun program graduate with more than 16 years of flying experience, described it as about 40 feet long, shaped like a Tic-Tac candy, with no obvious means of propulsion. It's white. It has no wings. It has no rotors. I go, holy shit, what is that?
Dude, you know the guy, whoever the company is that makes Tic Tacs, they're like, yes, they're calling them Tic Tacs. It's free publicity.
Totally. Tic Tacs is the one sponsoring this whole deal.
You think it is?
Yeah, man. People are buying Tic Tacs right now. Listen to this. You just say Tic Tac enough. You're like, you remember those old subliminal things you used to do in movie theaters when you're watching a movie and it would say hungry, eat popcorn. Like every 100th frame they would stick like hungry, eat popcorn. They would put subliminal text on the screen. You'd be like, damn, I want some popcorn. If you just say Tic Tacs.
Tic Tacs.
People are buying Tic Tacs right now.
Well, we do know that pilot's got great breath, right? I mean, that's a Tic Tac man. If the first time you see a UFO, the first thing that pops into your head is it looks like a mint. That's nuts. There had to be other ways to describe it.
He's got stock in Tic Tacs, bro, for sure.
I Googled Tic Tac after he said that because I couldn't remember if they were square or if they were like They
look like I would expect a good UFO to look like.
Yeah. Kind of boring.
Yeah. Like super Apple-like. Like if Apple made a UFO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a pretty sleek.
Yeah.
But the going into the ocean part, that's the part I like the best because that kind of lines up with hollow earth theory
Yeah.
and like that maybe like they're flying
They
down.
have a base.
Yeah, in the center of the earth.
Of course they have a base in the earth. Why wouldn't you have a base in the ocean? We never go there. Do you ever fly over? I was just in Hawaii. You fly over 5 hours of water. It's just water.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's that Strava
Bases.
app thing. I feel like we've talked about literally everything. You know the Strava app?
Don't worry about it.
Okay, good. It's great, man. I love that I have to think I'm pretty sure we've talked about this. The heat maps, the Strava heat maps that seem to show people walking under the ocean and stuff.
Walking?
Yeah. We haven't?
No.
Oh, so yeah, because like Strava, it's like I think it was Strava, right? It was like a way for you to track your steps. And some people apparently were in some bases in the Arctic or in the ocean walking around. And it showed up before they could like turn that function off for top secret facilities, like the places they blur out on Google Maps.
So do you think there's like a military base under the water somewhere where submarines go?
God, man, I want to think that, but I'm
Like
always...
in that movie, The Meg?
Yeah, I think it's probably a technical error, but fuck, maybe. I mean, I don't know. It's like the implication of these tic-tacs and all of it, if you really want to like... The first, to me, the most obvious one, minus the churning water evidence, is that it's some kind of equipment malfunction.
Well, it's also that they have an unlimited budget for black ops.
Yeah.
We don't know what that number is.
That's right.
We don't get to know.
Yeah.
Right? All that weird shit they do when they're making stealth bombers and all that Area 51 stuff.
Yeah.
Like, how much money goes to that? Like, what is the number? Like, let's Google this. How much does the U.S. spend on black ops?
I was going to bring this up in the middle of what you guys are talking. There's a program here that was going on. The AATIP, Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, was going on and had a
Just
budget.
the AATIP.
Yeah.
I'm going to fuck you out of your money, but I'm just going to use the AATIP.
$22 million is what their budget was in 2012, and this said
a lot
that
of money.
doesn't still go on, but apparently it does. Luis Elizondo says it was still operating, and he is part of.
So
To the
they
Stars.
spent $22 million to see if the UFOs were a threat.
a year.
And then
I
there's the
guess.
To the Stars Academy.
Yeah.
That's
where he is now.
Tom DeLonge stuff.
Yeah. So
Well.
some of it's still going on.
Listen, I'm fucking rooting for it. I want it to be real. I would love it if it was real.
But if you look at like the history of the great ideas, a lot of them did come from like weird moments, like Tesla, like basically had a seizure and felt like it was being contacted by something. Like you do run into stories of, at the very least, inspiration, but quite often innovation coming to people via like
A
weird,
transmission almost.
a transmission.
Well,
Yeah.
I've been thinking this for a long time, that maybe ideas are living things. And these ideas, even though you think of them as something your brain's creating, and maybe your brain is creating it,
Yeah.
but maybe it uses your brain to create it so that it can manifest itself in the real world.
Yeah.
So when you have ideas, whether ideas that turn out to be art or music, like Jimi Hendrix comes out with Voodoo Child, you are inspired by that.
Yeah.
You see it, it gives you a great feeling. You exchange currency to listen to it. I mean, just that one song. How much money has been generated by Voodoo Child? I mean, it's one of the greatest songs in the history of the known universe. There's the opening guitar riff. I've listened to that 1,000 times, easy. I listen to it all the time. Whenever I'm like, I need a pick me up. Like, I mean, it's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece of music. And where'd that idea come from? Well, it came from his brain, right? But where was it before it was in his brain? Well, how did his brain cook it up? And what is it? What are these things? They're just floating around that you grab out of culture. And how do you turn them into something that people go crazy for?
Yeah.
Because occasionally a guy will take one of those ideas and make Voodoo Child, or make someone else's song, or make someone else's painting, or make a fucking building that's inspiring. There's these things that come into your head.
That's right.
And you at the end, what they really do is they're like the eggs of objects, because they come to your mind, you think about them, and then you say, I'm going to make a fucking clock.
Yeah.
And you start making a clock.
That's
like,
right.
Where's that coming from? It's just your creativity, and it's just your mind, it's just your imagination. And, well, it's just your thought process, your synapses firing. Yeah. You're right. You're absolutely right. There's no real woo-woo. Or is there? What the fuck is a thought? Figure that out. No one knows what that is, especially where are they coming from? How many times you've written a joke and you're laughing yourself as you're writing? Like, where the fuck did that come from?
Yeah, well, or saying anything. Sometimes, like, you're watching sentences come out of your mouth and you're sort of, you don't feel like,
every day, all the time, right now.
Where's who's articulating it? I've been studying Buddhism, and any Buddhists out there, if I fuck this up, I'm sorry if you're more advanced or know more about it. So I'm probably going to say the words wrong and stuff. It's really interesting. So it's like there's like 8 consciousnesses. I think it's 8, and the 6th one is your thought, the continuum of thoughts, right? So that's like where most people hang out, and they think that's who they are, is the infinite cycle of repeating thoughts in their head. So below that is your senses, and then the one right above that is the 7th, and that's what is considered your subconscious in the West. But so that's where all your memories are. That's where all your just all the shit you can't remember that happened to you that stuck back there, that appears in people's art or appears in your neurosis or whatever. And then above that is the 8th consciousness, and that's the stored experience of all human beings, and that's happening. It's like the global mind, or it's
the Akashic records.
Yeah, well, yeah, the Akashic records. Yeah, and so basically that one drips down like water in a cave. It drips down into your subconscious, which drips down into your thoughts. So when you're having these thoughts, according to this model, it's not necessarily your thoughts. You're getting a kind of distillate that's rolling down through the global mind, being flavored by your subconscious, and then being flavored by your identity or who you think you are. And then so by the time it comes out of you, it's got you wrapped up inside of it. But it's a projection of some like shared mind. It's pretty cool.
That makes actual sense.
Yeah.
I know that sounds like crazy voodoo hippie talk, but it actually makes sense.
Yeah.
That we all know that there's something that we share. And we all feed off of each other. I mean, you and I have said this many times, that I am a different person with you.
Yeah.
Like, we're different together, and we're different with other people as well. I mean, that's how human beings are. When we interact with each other, we have a bonding thing. There's an interaction thing.
Yeah.
And that's why some people are toxic for you. I mean, the idea that you're supposed to stay with everyone is like crazy. Like, some people are just not good for you. It's not a good mix. You're not good for them. They're not good for you. Get out.
Yeah.
But that there's something that's going on. It's not you just as an individual. And then when we're talking about gut biome and that as well.
Yeah.
And you're also sharing gut biome with each other. You're sharing DNA with each other.
Yeah.
You're sharing the skin. There's little organisms living on your body. You hug people with no shirt on. You're sharing organisms.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why it feels good, I bet.
Yeah, man.
It's probably a great way to swap organisms to keep them spreading.
I mean, yeah, it benefits your biome if it wants to pollinate or get out into the world for sure.
I was listening to a podcast, the Stephen Ranella podcast, Meat Eater, and there was a guy on who was an expert in moving wildlife around. How they sometimes they'll move wolves into certain particular areas. They had too many moose on this one island, and so they moved wolves in, but the wolves, there wasn't enough of them, and they were on an island, so they all started fucking each other, and they were fucking their kids, and their DNA just was a mess. Yeah, just all sorts of inbreeding, and it was just terrible, which is also fascinating. It's like nature's like, no. You can't just stand around and fuck each other. You got to get out there. Like nature, even with animals, nature's like, no. This is not the game we're playing.
You got to move.
The game we're playing is not male and female. The game we're playing is male that doesn't know female. That's the game. Because you can't fuck your sister and you can't fuck your mom.
No.
Stop. If you do it a few times, but after a while, your kids are just not going to come out good. which is weird, right? Like, how come if you're good and your sister's good, how come if you have sex, there's a high likelihood that the kid won't be good? There's something wrong with the child. And if the child fucks the sister and then they have a child, it's even more likely.
Yeah.
And if that, I mean, this is what inbreeding is. And this is one of the reasons why you have a lot of problems with certain dog species.
Sure.
Yeah. And it's a weird little thing that nature's got built into it.
Yeah.
Nature's like, keep moving, bitch. Keep touching each other. Keep spreading the biome.
Gotta move.
Yeah.
Well, no matter what you are.
Swap and spit. Keep it moving.
Have you seen that Planet Earth with that poor sloth? That poor, horny, lonely sloth?
He's horny? How do you know?
I'm pretty sure it was a sloth. It was some kind of slow-moving tree creature. And they set it up. I don't know how much of it is real. Like, how much of it is they're just filming animals and telling a story about them. But this sloth is horny. It howls out into the forest like, and it hears like a shriek of a woman, a female, like, and it's like, oh fuck, this poor guy. Look how can you get it from where he's in the tree? Are we allowed to show this?
I'm not showing it, but
don't show it. So he doesn't have a girlment. That's what's up. He's an incel.
He's climbed
incel of the sloth world.
This is it's incel sloth. It's not, because this one's actually this sloth is going for it. It's like it's not staying in his apartment on the internet. It's leaving his tree, swimming across an ocean, climbing up another tree.
But what a dirty trick nature played on this motherfucker to have him move so slow everyone can catch you.
Yeah.
It's like nature's like, listen, you guys are too fucking stupid. There's too many of you. We're going to have it so eagles pick you off. So they have them so slow, literally no one can miss them. What a goddamn dirty trick. You ever see a bear run? They run fast. You ever see a fucking wolf or a coyote run? They're ridiculous. This poor bastard is going so slow. It looks like he's on slow-mo. Like, we're looking at the leaves.
Yeah.
The leaves are moving at normal speed, but he looks like he's on fucking slow-mo.
He looks like he's been eating benzos for the last 9 months. Like, just fucked up. He's got an infinite Xanax prescription. But, yeah.
Yeah, he's barely getting by.
Yeah. We must look so fast to them. Like, to them, we must seem terrifying in how quickly we're moving.
How about the eagles? What is that eagle that gets them in South America? The harpy eagle? Is that what it is? The biggest eagle on Earth?
I didn't know harpies ate sloths.
All they eat is monkeys and sloths.
That's crazy.
That's their favorite shit. They snatch these sloths out of the tree. Bitch, get over here. And they just jump.
Whoa, dude.
What is it?
A fight between
them?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Sloth fights back.
Oh my God, the sloth's
young
fighting
eagle,
back. Oh, that's a real young eagle.
What
That's
kind
a baby.
of fight is that?
Oh, the sloth is actually swinging at the eagle. Imagine that.
Sorta.
You'd be like, what are you doing, man?
It's more like when someone's trying to wake you up. It's like, get out of here.
No, it's like a drunk guy at a bar and you're trying not to fuck him up. You're like, please don't make me hit you.
That is exactly it. And the eagle seems perplexed by it.
Yeah, but you see the harpy eagle kill one because it's crazy, man. They just swoop down. They're so enormous. And one of these guys, first of all, kudos to all these wildlife biologists that actually go down there and risk their ass. Look at that. Boom. Hold on. Back that up again. Motherfucker. Boom.
Jesus.
That is a big killer bird. And he just snatches that poor little guy. But somebody had to be there to film that. And there was one of them that I watched on the harpy eagle, which is a beautiful animal, where this guy who was a photographer, who was one of the scientists who was studying him, got attacked. The eagle swooped in and fucking took a swing at him.
Gee, was he okay?
Yeah, barely. But I mean, that gets sketchy when a 25-pound flying bird with knives coming out of its feet is trying to snatch you. I mean, something that can literally carry a fish. Can you imagine how strong your hand would be if you could shove your hand into the river, snatch a salmon, and pull it out with one hand?
I'm going to be honest, it's that strong. I do that. That's how I fish.
It's amazing.
I love the feeling.
You should make a YouTube video.
I don't want to film myself out in nature. You know how it is. I prefer to, that's my private time in the wild.
Bro, they just snatch them, and then they fly with them. They're so fucking strong.
Yeah.
If that thing was coming after you, and I think the harpy eagle is probably even bigger than 25 pounds. I think 25 pounds is like a big bald eagle.
Yeah.
I think the harpy eagle is even larger than that.
Dude, one of my friends told me something that has always kind of creeped me out. It's obviously probably not true, but like,
Those are my favorite things.
Yeah, mine too. University of Bro Science.
11.
He's 11 pounds?
Yeah,
that's it?
Yeah.
What's the heaviest eagle? Wow, I'm off big time. I guess that makes sense though, because like a turkey is like a giant turkey is like a 20-pound turkey, right?
The Steller's sea eagle is average weight 15 pounds.
Oh wow.
Philippine eagle 14 pounds. Harpy eagle 13.1.
No shit. Why do I feel like we've done this before?
I don't know. I feel like I thought you were right though, but maybe it's just.
If I was in Vegas and I had to bet whether or not you looked up the weight of the biggest eagle, I would bet $1 million that
I
you
know
have
what it is.
definitely looked that up.
I know
before.
exactly what it is. It's I got it confused with an extinct eagle in New Zealand that was enormous that they think hunted people, and that one was 25 pounds. And I was shocked that it was only 25 pounds. It's called the Haast eagle,
Yep.
Haast.
Yep.
Show a picture of what that fucking thing was
It says
like.
none of them verified to exceed 20 pounds, but they think they were bigger. Yeah.
See, that's it. That's where I fucked up. I was looking at this thing, and I was like, why? It's only 20 pounds or 25 pounds. Because you look at the size of it. Like, it was fucking huge. And they really think they might have hunted humans.
Jesus.
They think that might be why the people, I think it was New Zealand, why the people in New Zealand wiped them out. And this was like before the white man came and fucked everything up.
Did you see that documentary on falconeering?
No, which one is that?
It's this woman who's like, I wish I could remember her name, but she like goes up to, I think like Tibet, and they like took her in and taught her how to like hunt, because it's the way they hunt with birds. And like the whole relationship you sort of have to raise the falcon from a baby, and they're like connected to it, but it's the most insane thing to witness because it's such a remote place and it's such a like traditional people. They don't watch TV. They don't know, they're not like absorbed in shit like we are. They're just out there hunting with giant birds. And, they figured out how to do that. That's to me, all the stuff like horse ride, any human animal relationship. When you think back to the first person who saw a falcon and was like, I'm going to catch it and I'm going to train it to catch rabbits so we can eat.
Yeah.
How? That shit is.
I don't know if this is the exact documentary, but this is one on it called The Challenge where.
That's not it, but these are like in. This looks like Saudi Arabia. These are like some kind
sharpening the claws?
This shows them sharpen the beak here in a second, too.
And what are they using them to hunt?
It seems like they're having an event here. So I don't know.
Oh, they're sharpening their beak?
Jesus.
What the fuck?
Yeah, this wasn't it. This is another version. They're watching soccer.
Bro.
They're riding on sand dunes.
These guys are driving Land Cruisers in the middle of the desert somewhere.
They got
Yeah.
GoPros on them and shit.
They're in Land
Whoa.
Cruisers.
And they're letting go pigeons, and the
shit.
pigeons are going to get jacked.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
Whoa.
Oh, my God. They got a room filled with pigeons.
Yeah.
Or
looks
those
interesting.
falcons.
Yeah, probably falcons.
Well,
No, those are. I can't tell.
which one's
don't
the
know.
pigeon? Some
are-
of them have to be pigeons, right?
Those are pigeons.
So what is the challenge? Like, who jacks the most pigeons? The fuck is that? Wait a minute. It's called The Challenge?
The
That's
movie is
name of
called The
movie?
Challenge. It's a documentary that came out, won awards a couple years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
And it's just about falcons jacking pigeons.
I thought this was the one he was talking about,
Oh.
but apparently it's not.
I want to watch that one.
There might be multiple cool falconry.
These guys are sharpening the beaks and sharpening the claws.
Dude, this is going to be your next thing.
Wow,
You're going to get into
falconeering.
falconeering. The next time I come here, you're going to have a
Birdcage,
falcon,
just-
some
yeah.
kind of like.
When them Mongolian dudes with the fur hat, the ring,
Yeah.
with the fucking spike on the top of it.
That is the one. That's it.
Dude, what?
Mongolian.
This guy's
fal-
driving around with a
The
goddamn
Vice
cheetah.
article about this movie.
Oh, wow. No shit. Yeah, dudes have crazy money, man. They just have to figure out some way to ball. So they get killer birds.
Look at those chairs.
Dude, birds are an amazing thing. If you really watch them and see them in the wild, like do their thing, like snatch a fish out of the water, what it is a raptor. It's a flying raptor that just, we tolerate it because it's small. But we probably killed all the ones that could kill us.
Well, yeah, right? They were
Yeah.
like giant eagles at some point.
Look at the
for
fucking
sure.
eyes on that thing, man. Look at that. Look at the eyes on that thing. It has a giant, if that was a big thing, like the size of you coming at you and trying to kill you and eat you, first of all, you'd be totally helpless. If that thing was your size, you would be 100%, every human being would be 100% helpless. Those things are so strong. It would grab a hold of you with its feet. It would start ripping you apart with that fucking bolt cutter it has growing out of its face.
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
It would just that fucking thing would be the size of a sword, like a samurai sword that would just be smashing in, ripping your guts out. You'd probably still be alive for a second to watch it, take a like taste of your guts.
Yeah, it would probably be like the size of one of Shaq's shoes, right? That would be his beak.
Size 22.
Yeah, like a beak, right? If you looked at his beak, big ass shoe.
Huge knife.
Big fucking head. Head this big.
Yeah.
Big ass shoe for a...
Carrying you
man.
to feed its babies, right? That's what they do. They eat you first and puke you into the baby's mouth.
Yeah, and they eat other birds too. They eat whatever the fuck they want. Those things are always fun. You know, I used to find them headless in my backyard. There was like a little bit of a war between the hawks in my yard.
Yeah.
We put in this glass fence in the back of the yard, and the hawks couldn't figure out the fence, and they fucking dank, and a couple of them got KO'd. One of them we managed to save. We brought him to like a wildlife rescue place, and they rehabilitated him and saved him. But a couple of them died. And then we would find dead hawks. So I think that one of them was like the dominant hawk, and he died. And then other ones just started moving into the area. Like they were flying around my chicken coop and like little juvenile hawks. They were kind of assholes, almost like teenagers. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? And then I'd find one of them with his head missing.
Jesus
So
Christ.
like some other hawk killed it and ripped its fucking head off. And a bigger hawk left it in my yard dead with no head.
Like a message.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what the fuck eats something's head. But apparently that's something that a hawk will do. They'll do to each other.
So it's like the equivalent of like the Mad Max putting your enemy's head on a spike in front of your area.
Yes, you claim you own, like all his friends get to see his headless body when you shit on it, when you fly over. Find out if that's true. That might be a lie.
Who
cares?
Hawks? It's true.
But I want to find out if hawks, because we're very high right now, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm pretty sure that I read that when I found the headless bird in my yard.
Have you seen the Tibetan sky burial shit?
Yes.
Yeah, that stuff's cool, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Tell people what it is.
That's when you basically, instead of cremation, your friends hack your body up into pieces and take it to where they're vultures. Buzzards? I'm not sure which. Vultures scatter your body. They descend on it. They eat it. And all that's left is bones.
They even smash the head so that the vultures can get inside the head.
Get your brain, all your memories. And then I just saw this incredible documentary on the history of, I think it was the Himalayas. There's civilizations there because like they're genetically, it's why the Sherpas are able to help people. Like they are able to take oxygen in more. There's some kind of split that happened at that high in altitude. But like these fucking crazy scientists were rappelling down the side of these cliff faces and going into tombs in the side of cliffs and looking at these bones of these people where they're not sure of what their history is. And like they'd been pecked by birds, you know, so they were like, oh, okay, they were doing the sky burial even now. But some of them had spikes nailed into them. It was like,
so like they
were
nailed
vampires or something. Like,
oh my God.
Maybe there was like a zombie, who knows what the fuck happened. But back then they thought that, you know, I mean, even in Western graveyards, you'll find
spikes through what part of their body?
I think their chests or their heads. I
so
think
somebody killed them.
Oh, no. It was post-death. It was part of their ritual.
For sure?
Yeah, pretty sure. Not for sure, but pretty sure. But that was not uncommon. I mean, there's so many examples of finding like graves that have spikes hammered in them because people thought that the body was a vampire. That didn't come from nowhere.
You think that there was a time when bodies used to come back to life and that parasite's dead now?
No.
No?
I think there was a fucking time where people's neocortex hadn't formed enough to separate their subconscious from their conscious. So they were like hallucinating more. And also they were like, they had a kind of, they were projecting a lot of crazy shit into the world.
Also, imagine when you found out that you could lie. Like the first liars.
Yeah.
This is like there were people that would have language, and then people, once they started communicating, like, hey, who fucking ate the tomatoes? Psh, not me.
Yeah.
And you realize you could get away with that.
Yeah.
You could lie and say you didn't eat the tomatoes when you did. Who's the first liar? Because before language, there was no liars. There's no liars in the Lion Kingdom. It's not even a concept because you can't have a lie until you have communication.
Well, you could say I guess you could say lying is the equivalent of camouflage in the sense that when you see some of these insane like animals, bugs in particular that look like flowers, that look like, you know,
that's a lie.
It's a form of deception. Yeah. It's a form of evolutionary deception. So yeah, I think that like it's a linguistic camouflage that people use to try to like navigate through society.
Not just people. Monkeys.
And monkeys
too. Use language and they lie to each other.
Yeah.
They found out that monkeys have a very specific sound they make when it's an eagle. And they have another sound that they make when it's a cat, like something on the ground. So they have something for up high and something on the ground. And so one monkey will yell out something like, "Oh, an eagle's coming." The other monkeys scatter, and then he gets the fruit.
Yeah.
It's like, ha ha.
That's crazy.
Bitches. And then they'll yell that something's on the ground. They'll run up to the trees. They lie to each other.
To me, what the funniest fucking thing is how much we lie to ourselves. That's where it gets amazing. It's like, you know, you were talking about, and I've done the exact same thing with screen time when you're presented that humiliating number of hours and you've been telling friends you're busy and you're fucking looking at that just thinking like, dude, I've been like, you know, looking at bullshit. But then before you do that, you're like, but it's my job, you know, I've got to kind of be online. It's like, no. You're addicted to technology, and because you can't stand the fact that you don't have the discipline to stop using it, you would rather make up a story involving some absolutely verifiable bullshit so that you don't have to deal with the fact that you aren't in full control of yourself.
And it's a non-rewarding addiction, which is really strange. It's like when you're looking at stories on like the Apple News feed or something, you're scrolling, looking for something that's going to captivate you.
Yeah.
What is, Apple having problems with their keyboards?
Yeah.
You start reading this and it's like, Huawei can't sell laptops in the U.S. anymore. Like how much of that, like you were saying earlier, how much of that is junk thoughts?
Yeah.
These are junk thoughts, like junk food.
Junk food.
You're just consuming.
And I don't think it's useless. I think it serves a purpose. Like,
some of it does.
In the sense of maybe not a purpose in the way you're going to be as a human, but a purpose in the sense of like, if you apply a little bit of like mindfulness when you're using your phone, how do I feel right now? You know what I'm talking about? Like, how do I fucking feel? You'll realize you feel a specific way. It's a kind of like numbness. There's a quality of like, a kind of like sedated numbness to the hypnotic state you've been lulled into by the algorithms. And there's some pleasant kind of like, I guess you could compare it to some like low level euphoric painkiller, but not very euphoric, mostly just a mild numbness that is pretty good at turning off anxiety in this, or you could at least displace your own personal anxiety. Like if I'm scanning through my phone and I find the inevitable bad news, whatever form it's in, I could pretend that my anxiety is related to that news, you know? And then that's when you get people who are very anxious and I've seen it. I mean, who was that some person tweeted, "I'm here in this beautiful place and I can't enjoy it because of our president." You know what I mean? It's like, whoa, I'm not sure that's the real reason why you can't enjoy that place. I think it might be actually that you haven't dealt with the fact that you're freaking the fuck out, right?
Yeah.
That to me is like the purpose of a phone. It's very good at tricking yourself into thinking that the reason you feel like shit is because of something happening in the world.
It's a bandwidth eater too. And here's what the problem with that is. Sometimes you have like these legitimate thoughts. And when you have these legitimate thoughts, meaning like something you're working on, something you're like, whether it's an idea you're trying to do on stage or something else, another project that you're doing, these things, they require your bandwidth, right? And when you're always looking at your phone, it chips away percentages of your bandwidth. 10 here, 5 there, 20 there, 7 there. And you don't think about it because, nope, I'm still concentrating on the project. I'm still on the project.
Yeah.
But really, no. Really, you're in two rivers at the same time. You're in this wacky river of nonsense and wondering who got this and how much they're getting in this divorce and who died in the Dominican Republic. Oh, my God, another person, another tourist. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
You know, and you're just, if you want to look at all the bad stuff that happens amongst 7 billion people, you have to think of all the interactions that humans have.
Yeah.
All the literally billions of interactions every day. People constantly, and occasionally one goes fucking Western.
Yeah.
One goes sideways, and that's the one you see on YouTube. Jesus Christ, this world's going to shit.
Yeah.
And then you watch another one, and you watch another one, and you watch infectious diseases and snake bites and what happens when you get necropsy, when your fucking flesh starts falling off.
Sure.
Flesh-eating bacteria.
Classic.
How'd they get that? Snorkeling? And then the next thing you know, you're fucking just numb to your real life because you're taking in data from everywhere.
Yeah, that's it. Fuck, man. And it's like, then that gets inside of you, and now you're just a turbulent, you have a turbulent self that has digested a version of the world that's only half true. And so because of that, you're going to be half a person because you're not looking into like your own, whatever the fuck you are. You know, what are you? Like that.
How much do you even think about what are you?
Yeah. How much time have you spent? To me, it's like the craziest shit that, like, we were talking about the sex drive being this insane compulsory engine inside every sentient being that I know. Of course, there's exceptions, but like, this is, if you're writing a computer code, right? This would be a line of code, right? It keeps you going, keeps you going, keeps you going. So to me, something that's fucking astoundingly weird is, why the fuck can people not sit still and be quiet for periods exceeding 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes? Literally the least metabolically, outside of sleeping, right? You're not really exerting energy when you're sitting still and being quiet. You're not really doing much. And yet, if you ask, I could ask a person if they wanted to go for a walk. They'll be, sure, I'll go for a walk. But if you're like, do you want to sit with me for like 10 minutes quietly? It's weird, I get it. They're like, no, I don't want to. I'm not into that. No, I don't want to do that. What the fuck is that? To me, that, if not that I believe in simulation theory, but if I wanted to prove it or like play around with it, the idea that we're like non-player characters in some super advanced simulator, one of the ways I would experiment would be like, oh, sit still. Why the fuck can't you sit still? Why is it that suddenly your mind goes insane? Why is it suddenly that you got to get up? Why do you feel bored or crazy or fucking like overheated or anxious or nervous?
Because we have to be productive, Duncan.
Yeah.
That's why everybody wants stimulants.
Yeah. Yeah.
They want to be more productive.
Yeah.
They want to contribute more.
Yeah. People, I mean, I think that's what someone might say is an explanation, but I think the fucking real reason is like people are carrying a disordered universe inside of them. And when they sit down and there's nothing to look at except what's around them, they're forced to deal with the fact that actually a lot of the disturbance in their life is more related to an interior, like, maelstrom of thoughts and unexplored feelings. And then this is just basically shaping their entire existence. They're like in every single moment recreating a universe of disorder and then getting really upset because if you see disorder in the world and it keeps reappearing, like your friend who's like, why do I get taken in by these people all the time? Yeah. It's like, whoa, you get taken in by these people all the time because inside of you is a behavior pattern that is replicating this phenomena. And you're pretending that it's not in you, to the point where it's a mystery. It's like, when I drive somewhere, I'm not like, why did my car drive me here? Unless I'm like fucking high out of my mind and shouldn't be driving. In which case, you get an Uber, man. You know what I mean? But
pull over and find a Starbucks.
A person will legitimately be like, I don't know why I did that. And it's like, well, what are you?
What are you?
Yeah.
Right.
what
Are you something different if you have sugar in your gut?
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
When your candida level hits a certain number,
Yeah.
and it starts telling you need sugar, Duncan. Yeah. How about a nice cold Coca-Cola, Duncan?
Yeah.
Duncan, just crack open one Coke. It's not going to hurt you to have one Coke.
You're right. I need a cake to go
Fuck
along with
that
it.
water. Who wants to go and buy water when it's
Water
right next to the
sucks.
Coke?
Nasty fucking water.
That's nonsense.
Boring, flavorless air. It's thick,
I'm staying
flavorless air.
alive. Staying alive here with my water.
No, I want fucking sewage brown sugar death poured into my fucking guts.
Or a nice IPA.
Oh, yeah.
A nice bitter yellow liquid. It tastes like wheat.
Yeah. Having an addictive personality, man, I like it because it's like, it's fun to play around with it, meaning that when I am reaching for the thing, whatever it may be that I know I shouldn't be doing, is in the sense
That's the fun.
Well, I like watching the rationalization that my mind starts spitting out for it. You know, like, oh, I'm doing this because it's like, you know, I'm relaxing. You know, it's a celebratory moment. I feel a little bummed out. And you look at like the instant way your mind tries to come up with a bullshit story to write off the fact that you are riding around in a vehicle that you can't control. And that is not a very appealing way to be. No one wants to hear the pilot say, guys, taking my hands off the wheel. Let's just see what happens for the next 10 minutes up here. And yet their whole lives are like that. They've just taken their hands off the wheel, but then they're trying to make sense of it. You know, like how many times do you meet an alcoholic who hasn't accepted yet they're an alcoholic? And they're like telling you all these reasons for, well, you see my childhood, man. You just got to understand my childhood. Or, you know, it helps my writing. I'm a better writer when I'm drunk, or on and on and on and on. And it's like, no, the reality is you're fucking hooked. You're addicted. You can't stop your hand from bringing something into your fucking mouth. And you can't deal with that because who wants to deal with that shit, man? I want to be in control. So I'll make up a story. I love watching your shit, man. That Goggins, what's his name?
David Goggins.
Oh, he's great.
an
I love
animal.
him. Thwarting laziness globally. This guy's galloping down the road, yelling into the camera. And I love it, man. Especially as a person who's really good at telling stories, you know? So like, I'll fucking wake up in the morning. I'll be like, yeah, there's time to go for a jog. But, you know, I probably should fill in the fucking blank. And it's always very important. You know, there's always a real good reason for it. Like, but regardless, the truth is I have yet to achieve the ability to grab that particular part of the steering mechanism of my identity, you know? And so rather than just deal with, you can't control yourself, I'll tell myself a story. I love that.
It's a tricky one.
Yeah, it is.
That one, the comfort one, is a tricky one. Comfort is the siren. Come on.
Yeah.
Come back to the couch, Duncan. Come here.
Just relax.
Duncan.
You earned it.
How about a nice cup of tea?
You earned
Tea has no vice. It's actually good for you. It's herbal.
Yeah.
Just relax.
a little tea, some
Little tea.
little ketamine.
How about read the New York Times? Find out what the intellectuals think about the way the world is.
Yeah, right, man.
Come on.
It's amazing. I
You
love
can find things to do, man. I don't sit down and listen to music. I'm going to sit down and listen to some albums.
it. Well, I need to because, you know,
I'm an
I'm
artist.
interested in music and I'm thinking of like making some songs and I want to become inspired.
I think a lot when I'm running. And it's one of the main reasons why I really like to do it first thing in the morning. Kind of gets my head going. Like it gets me ramped up real early. I like to do it like first thing in the morning. Because it gets your head thinking.
Yeah.
Like it gets you, like you're out there breathing and running up the hill and you're pushing yourself, you're tired, and then a thought will come into your head. You know, just out of nowhere. You get a strange idea just pop in your head. And then you start dancing around with that idea and wondering, why are you even thinking about that now? And you start thinking about shit you need to fix about, I got to clean my fucking office. And you just run in and thinking about, oh, why didn't I got to call that guy back. Fuck. And all these like, it's like brain maintenance. Like your brain's like shaking from all the pounding. It's like, hey, we got a loose screw over here in aisle 4.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I forgot. I got to call that guy. I'm going to tighten that bitch down.
Yeah, man. This is what I love about meditating, and that's something I am finally have figured out how to do regularly, and I love it.
How often are you doing it?
Every day.
That's awesome.
Every day.
How much time?
20 minutes.
How much time do you jerk off during the meditation?
Oh, God, man. You know, it varies based on the weather. It's so fucking...
Imagine if rain made you horny. I just get sad and I want to beat off.
It's just, when it's raining, it's just like I come faster, but then like if it's windy, I can't get it up.
If there was a movie about someone who just became a fucking nymphomaniac when it rained out.
I'm sure that happens.
Like as soon as it rains out, it's like, fuck, I gotta fuck. If that's how, I mean, you think about humans.
Dude.
How we're affected by things. Like
by
people
weather.
get depressed when it rains out.
Or, we don't like, now again, definitely, I just feel like saying this shit because you get attacked by scientists or smart people who are like, you don't know what you're talking about. I know I don't know what I'm talking about.
They don't either. We're talking about a hypothetical world where people get horny when it rains.
Well, yeah, but I want to take it into the sun, man. I want to move it to the next level, which is like we're at a solar minimum now, apparently, which is the sun is not very active. Fuck. And so the sun... I knew it.
Damn,
that explains it.
I'm a NASA scientist, and you telling me this?
It's the craziest shit, man. The sun freaks me out. Not just like the fact there is a sun, but the solar observatory, the shit that happened up at that solar observatory. I'm high. I can't even say observatory.
Which solar observatory?
You can't even say observatory.
Turn the bubbles on, please.
Turn on the bubbles.
So what's happening in the solar observatory?
Well, you heard about this shit that happened. There's this solar observatory that just got fucking shut down all of a sudden, and like the black helicopters came in, and like anyway, I don't know what happened there.
Close
but
it down.
The sun is at a solar minimum right now.
Look, we have to fucking get through a paywall. You
Damn
sons
it.
of bitches. What is this? Oh, you need to fucking
Oh my
enter
God.
in your
Guys, come
date.
on.
Continue.
What do they
Come
want
on,
from us?
Accept. You fucks. UFO sightings. NASA Soho space probe spots giant alien disc shoot out of hollow sun.
What? That's not a...
This is the Express, Duncan.
That's the hardcore scientific stuff. Take me to like something less
Yeah,
scientific.
who is the Express like the Daily Mail? Do they make... Who makes stuff up? Like the Inquirer or someone?
What was the newspaper one? The Daily News?
Gizmodo.
That's
Next
not
month's
it.
total solar eclipse will pass right over a space observatory. Oh, wow.
Joe, have you really not heard about the solar observatory that got shut down? I'm
No.
surprised.
Look how pretty that picture is.
When you look that up, just solar observatory shut down, black helicopters.
Hold on. Go back to that photo real quick before we do that. We'll do that real quick. But
Sorry, by the way,
but
if I'm barking orders at you,
No,
Jamie.
it's
I
okay.
love you. I'm very sorry.
But look at that goddamn photo. There's this photo of the solar eclipse, and you see all the rays of the sun. By the way, imagine if these were little multiverses. Are we out of juice? Does this thing just devour bubble
Dude,
juice?
we got run out of fucking bubbles. We ran out of bubbles right when you were about to talk about the multiverse.
Look at the rays coming off that thing. I mean, what is that? Is that what that is? Are those solar rays? Is that what the fuck is that coming off of that thing?
Those are called Zeitgar spirals.
Those look like they'll fuck you up, man.
Yeah, they're deadly. They're like definitely one of the most dangerous thing in space.
Yo, that's what Robert Schoch, the geologist from Boston University, thinks ended the Ice Age. His theory is that it was a mass coronal ejection that caused lightning storms, like rain coming down, but lightning all over the Earth.
It's a very common fear in preppers. Do you watch Preppers?
I've watched it a couple times, but it freaks me out.
Everybody's got a reason, like, I'm building this shelter because I'm afraid of hurricanes. But yeah, you hear like
It's the liberals, the hurricanes, alligators.
the sun comes up a lot.
Should.
Well, I mean,
Look, we can only exist in a very narrow temperature band. That's what you have to think is strange. You know,
Right.
we have a temperature band. What is it? It's from like fucking 20 below zero to like 150. That's all we got.
yeah.
And we got this weird little spot. Does this piece of shit die already? God damn it.
This might be low.
How much juice does it use?
Well, it's got a little observatory in here, or not observatory.
What's happening? What's spreading?
A reservoir.
It's got a tiny solar observatory and it's getting shut down.
It's you know, the narrow band that we can live in. We're so fragile as an
Yeah.
organism
Yeah.
that we should be terrified of this giant nuclear explosion that's 1 million times bigger than the Earth.
Sure.
That we need to stay stable. We need to keep. I mean, imagine relying on that thing to make sure the temperature is in like a range of plus or minus 100 degrees. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Dude,
that's crazy.
It's crazy.
That's a crazy request.
Well, this is like, I don't believe it, man, but I love Hollow Earth theory.
Here we go. Oh yeah, baby.
And like,
bubbles.
If aliens were watching us, like terrestrial aliens, not interdimensional aliens, important to make the distinction. If terrestrial aliens are watching us, I think they would be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Y'all live on the outside of the thing? You got to go in. Like,
Why?
because mountains fall out of the sky. You're going to build your whole...
but the inside collapses.
Well, I'm saying, like, if you dig deep enough, maybe there's a way.
There's no air down there.
Well, you got to get air down there. I mean, it is, when you think about it, it's like we've built this fragile civilization using this super advanced, brand new, interconnective technological matrix that is dependent on satellites giving GPS coordinates to keep everything running. And we're right next to a ball of fire that has historically, from time to time, blasted so much fucking crazy shit at our planet. There was a time that it caused like telegram wires to spark. It's like, if that shit hits the satellites, they're gonna go out.
Oh, the power grid goes down.
And everything goes down. It's not conspiracy theory, it's happened.
Yeah.
And sometimes it cools down and it enters into a thing called a grand solar minimum, I think is what it's called. And that sometimes starts ice ages. Like there was a mini ice age that happened not that long ago where the sun theoretically just, I don't know, it stopped being so active. And then
1790.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And so this is like a reality that nobody seems to really like think about. I mean, that to me is the funniest thing when everyone's fighting each other. We're all like furious at whoever the fuck. It's like nobody wants to accept like mountains fall out of the sky. The sun from time to time burps fire so bright that it causes fires to break out on the planet. And then all the other shit we don't know about. Just the stuff we don't know about. Like that if we could talk to
1,200 foot asteroid could crash into Earth because NASA missed this small detail. Oh, Jesus.
Less than a week old
Christ.
story.
Jesus Christ. I don't need to see this. NASA fucked up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they haven't been getting any money, Jamie.
You think that's why?
Yes. Trump has diverted all the funds to the Space Force.
No, the truth is they... Yeah. I mean, would they even tell us? I mean, that's the thing.
No.
You don't think?
No. Let it hit.
You don't think they'd
Live
be
your
like...
life. No, what are you going to do?
They wouldn't warn
If
us?
it's going to hit, it's going to hit. Neil deGrasse Tyson says we're like decades away from being able to divert it.
Decades.
Decades.
Yeah.
Yeah, if something's coming our way, some civilization ender, we're fucked. And this is not conspiracy theory, folks. There was an article today that I put on my Twitter that I read about hyenas. They used to have hyenas in Canada up until the last ice age. There's hyenas in fucking Canada, dude. Like, this whole thing changes all the time.
All the time.
There was a mile-high sheet of ice up there.
Yeah.
2 miles high in some places.
That's right.
I was just in Chicago, man, and you look out at the Lake Michigan,
Yeah.
which is amazing. You look at it from Chicago, you go, whoa, that was a fucking glacier. That was an
What?
ice
I
sheet
didn't know
that
that.
melted.
That's fucked up.
That's how it got there. That's the remnants of the melted
crazy.
ice sheets. The whole fucking thing was under ice.
Yeah.
Dude, there's a place in Wisconsin where my friend Doug has a farm, Cazenovia, Wisconsin, that's a part of what they call the driftless area. And the driftless area is the places where these glaciers didn't come down and crush flat everything in front of them. That's why you go to the Midwest,
Wow.
it's fucking flat.
Yeah.
Flat as this table. Why is that? Because the fucking glaciers came down and just smushed that motherfucker.
Yeah.
That's how it came down. Like this giant mile-high wall of ice just destroys everything in front of it as it rolls across the landscape. But it didn't hit this one area of Wisconsin, and it didn't hit it as hard because you got all these beautiful hills and valleys. It's pretty dope.
Whoa, that's beautiful. Holy shit. Isn't that crazy, man?
It's crazy. That happened 12,000 years ago. right? So we're not talking about something that's a long time ago. And then boom, that shit melts and becomes an interior freshwater ocean. I mean, it's essentially what it is.
Dude, it's like our entire civilization is living the way like a middle-aged alcoholic who's starting to realize all the trouble they caused lives, but still gonna keep drinking. Kind of like, it's like if you look at like our whole species as one thing, it's like right now we're dealing with like the same thing maybe smokers deal with after a lifetime of smoking. Like suddenly health effects are starting to happen, right? We've had like a nice run, but now we're starting to get a little bit of payback for all the decisions past generations have made. We've got fucking radiation pouring into the ocean. The ice caps are fucking melting. And then on top of that, the majority of us can't deal with that. We either say fake news or we say, nothing, I'm going to be dead anyway, man. Those are the two things, because to me, like this fucking amazing thing about being a human is that we are like a technological hive that has built itself around a planet using the materials of the planet to make technology. And we're still at the point of hive life where we're pretending there's different bees when we're all the same fucking bee. You know, it's just some of us are running weird operating systems, and we can't accept the fact that it's like, listen, we're a fucking hive of super advanced primates that are all living together in a hive. Because that's the overview effect, man, where astronauts talk about flying over and looking down. It's like, it's all the same. The cities are mostly all the same. And all the structures all look pretty much the same. Of course, it's a fucking hive, a schizophrenic hive, where pieces of the hive are like, yeah, over there, we got to bomb that part of the hive because that part of the hive is different than us. So that part of the hive wants to hurt us. You know, pheromones being released, you know, not by queen bees, but by influencers, you know, like the news, the media, blasting out this data pheromone that gets us ready for the wars, gets us ready for the violence, tries to justify it, rationalize it. And then there's other weird new, like little mini queen bees popping up, releasing weird pheromones. The influencers, you know, they're like, some of them are making people dress a certain way, fashion or whatever. Some of them are making people freak out. Some of them are making people more calm. But we're dealing with the fact that we're all starting to wake up, right? We're all going to have to wake up to the fact that we're all the same thing, living in a hive, and that if we don't come to that epiphany as an individual, we're probably fucked. Like, we figured out how to split the atom. And we've got the technology as it's coming in is making the ability.
Well, it's like, I'm sorry.
Please, go ahead.
Collectively, we kind of know. But it's very difficult for everybody to act.
Yeah.
Right? Collectively, we kind of know that we can't do things the way we're doing. But they're going to do it. What are we going to do? Oh, well, he's going to drive that truck with the smoke coming out of the back. Well, fuck it. I don't want to fix that. What am I going to do about this? What do I do? What do we do? Who's in charge, and what do we do?
You're asking me?
No, anybody. Nobody has the answer to that.
I think you got to like get pragmatic. I mean, there's that thing Jean-Paul Sartre said, and I'm not Jean-Paul Sartre once said, but it has stuck with me ever since I heard it, which is whatever you do, you give the planet permission to do. You give everyone permission to do. So to me, what's helped me like live a little less in a crazy like asshole way, I mean, aside from having a baby, is realizing that, if I can't stop, you know, using as much plastic as I do, the world's fucked. If I can't stop any kind of activity that I look into the world and think, man, why are people doing that? Then the world is fucked. Because if you know that I'm sorry, man. Can I rant about a quick story? Do you mind? I'm sorry. You know that Gandhi story?
Which one?
The one about like this, and this, who knows, could be fake news. I don't care. It's a parable. It's cool. But this woman brings her kid to Gandhi and says, I can't get him to stop eating sugar. And Gandhi says, come back in a month. And she's like, all right. Comes back in a month, and Gandhi looks at the kid and goes, stop eating sugar. And she's like, why did you wait a month for this? And Gandhi's like, well, I wanted to see if I could stop eating sugar first. And, before I'm like,
Wow.
yeah. So it's like, to me, it's cool, right? There's a listlessness in the world because everyone wants to be heroic, but people are wanting to act on the global stage while neglecting their home, their family, themselves. And it's frustrating because why wouldn't you think that? Because it seems like you're seeing the big scale of things, but it's like personally, when I fucking finally it clicked, man, I can't change anybody else. Like, I'm not going to make anyone do anything. I'm not going to make anyone meditate. I'm not going to make anyone do this or that or do anything because everyone's doing their own trip anyway, man. Who the fuck am I to say? What a relief.
But that's part of the problem, right? Is that people are trying to get people to behave a certain way. We're experiencing a lot of that right now.
Yes, man. And it's like, the thing is, the impulse is noble, but unfortunately, it's like trying to build a fucking second story house when you haven't built the first story, which is like, you need to like get your own house in order. Yeah. And then maybe there's some teaching, but usually by the time that happens, you're not a talker, And so to me, that has been like a real exciting thing to realize. This is Jack Kornfield says this. I'm sorry if I've said this before. Tend to the part of the garden you can touch, and that's it. So it's like, to me, it's just a big relief. Number one, you can't do shit for anybody else but yourself. Number two, you don't need none of us know. We don't have to impose some moral thing on you, but there is one actionable thing, an action anyone can take, which is amoral, which is find out who you are. That's it. Find out who you are. Who are you really? What are you? Explore that shit.
Right.
And then see how you start changing. I think that's a real pragmatic solution to all this stuff, and it's actionable too. And it's like, if you want to find out who you are by rubbing mayonnaise all over your dick and letting your dog lick it off, if you think that's a true exploration, go ahead. Work for me. I'm enlightened now. It's the way. I'm just kidding.
Speaking of which, OJ's on Twitter.
I saw that shit.
Do you see that one guy who made a parody video of his welcome Twitter world? Like, he made this weird dad video. It's so strangely, what's the word?
Apocalyptic?
No, disingenuous. Strangely disingenuous.
I thought it was like a deep fake.
Like he's acting again, but he hasn't acted in forever. And also maybe he's suffering a little bit from the football injuries because there's a struggle. I am very sensitive to people that have been hit in the head a lot of times, struggling to talk.
Yeah.
Because I look for it. I see it in people I don't want to see it in, and it's scary. And we all talk about it. Like people that work for the UFC, fighters, trainers, just people who do kickboxing. Everyone talks about seeing certain folks starting to slip. And some folks will start to talk about it about themselves, that they're having a problem. Yeah. And that's what I got when I was listening to that. It's like, hello, Twitter world.
All right. I didn't pick that
it's
up.
It's O.J. Simpson.
Yeah.
I can dispel some of the BS that people have been saying about me with no accountability.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm going to talk about sports and politics. It's like this weird acting job that he did.
It's creepy, man.
Whoa.
It was weird. All that. Yeah. It was a weird moment, man. That's a cool that thing that happens to people who have like done shitty things, where instead of just saying like, yeah, I fucked up.
Oh, you can't say that. You can't say, yeah, I killed somebody, right?
Well, you can, but if you do that, you're going to suddenly, and it'll be, I think for anybody who's done shitty things, the moment you just say it, you get to be standing again on the real ground, like the real terrain, instead of like the bullshit world you've been living in. But when you decide not to do that, then you do have this like, it's like the uncanny valley. Like you have this like android quality to you because you're not reflecting reality. You're reflecting reality after you put lipstick on it and sunglasses and combed its hair, and put some perfume on it, got it a nose job, got ass implants, and that's your fucking reality. Is this super plastic, like someone who's been getting plastic surgery for years. And so you're pretending that that's your existence. You see it, man, when like people are getting sentenced for killing people, and they're like, the look on their fucking face is like so confused because they have created this valley in between that person and the person they are, and you know, they've split in half essentially, and they can't deal with it. That's why so many people who've murdered people will say, I wasn't there, I don't remember, it was a dream, I didn't know, I didn't do it. And Gacy, I should be sentenced for running a funeral home without a license. He was saying when he was out of town, people were burying dead kid bodies under his fucking house. You know, and he meant it. He tricked himself enough.
Really?
Absolutely. Because otherwise you have to deal with the fact that you are a murderer, that you killed you strangled fucking kids, that you dress like a fucking clown, you know, and like killed kids. Like, it's so unpalatable to deal with that shit because you're just a crazy lunatic who is out of control. So you'd rather make up a story. Usually it's conspiratorial. Somebody's like, hey man, you know where you can bury those kid bodies? I think Gacy's out of town.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, man. Isn't that fucking crazy?
It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I know. And
that's the thing what people have always said about OJ. That it's almost like he doesn't even believe he did it now. But the problem with that is there was a fucking emoji that he tweeted at this guy. You know, or he had a direct message with this guy, and he had like 16 knives, and he said he's going to cut him. Like, if that's true, if he really did send that, if it's not Photoshop, if that's not bullshit, can you imagine getting a DM from OJ because you made a parody video?
Jesus God.
Because like guess what he did was he put OJ's video where he was talking, and in the background he had someone screaming, "Help! Call the police! Help! Help!" And so then OJ sends him this direct message, allegedly. Who knows if it really happened?
Who knows?
But if it did,
dude, I would like find a cave somewhere. I would want to move to the Himalayas. I couldn't deal with it, man.
Hello, Twitter world.
I'm just, you know, because he could get you. Like, he could get you if he wanted to, I bet.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, how much time does he have left? He's 71 years old.
After he DMs you, he disappears. You know, people are like, we don't know where he is.
Norm Macdonald tweeted at him. It's hilarious. Norm said, "Hey, Juice, I just wanted to tell you that through that video, I know the golf course that's behind you, so I could figure out where your house is, and I wouldn't do that, but somebody else might."
Yeah, that was hilarious. Norm Macdonald's so funny.
He's the best. I'm trying to get him to do a podcast. I was trying to get him and Adam Egget to do a podcast. I don't know what he can do, though, while he's got his Netflix deal. I don't think his show is, I don't know where it's at. I don't know if he has a contract. But he should do a podcast. It's a goddamn national travesty that he doesn't have a podcast. He's so fucking funny.
Well, isn't his show it's kind of like a podcast? Like, it has that.
Yeah, but he hasn't been doing it.
Oh.
And they don't want him doing interviews and stuff. It's like, it's a little tricky. Because he said some crazy shit. You know, Norm says crazy shit. And he said some crazy shit like like if you about someone saying something, well, you believe that, you'd have to have Down syndrome.
Huh?
Like, he thought that would be better than saying you'd have to be retarded.
Damn
and
it.
people like, what the fuck?
Damn it.
And people got real mad at him. I think it was on the Stern Show. He's just a treasure, that guy.
Joe, I'm sorry to I thought I had all these questions for you, man. I was like, that's lame to ask somebody questions on their show, and it's not in the moment like we often do. But I really did. I know you've probably been talking about it, but I wanted to hear your take on deep fake, because like that fucking deep fake of you really bothered me. Like, it set off like a whole series of thoughts in my head that, like, of all the futuristic shit, that freaks me out the most.
Well, for someone like you or someone like me, it's easy for them to do it because they basically got a library of all the sounds that we can make with our mouth. And so they put it in a database, and then they can get you to say words you've never said before in an order that you've never said them before, in a way that you can kind of distinguish. For now, I kind of can hear that it's fake, but it was me talking about sponsoring a hockey team filled with all chimpanzees.
Yeah.
And teaching chimps to play hockey, which sounds exactly like something
Sure
I would
did.
do. And it's close. You know, I mean, they had one a few years ago that they did with Ronald Reagan, where they had a fake speech. And this was way, way before the internet. And someone had pieced together a fake collaboration of a bunch of different Ronald Reagan speeches and then used them with sound editing and turned it into a whole statement that he never gave before. And then the White House went on television and showed how they did it, and showed on the news all the different speeches that they pulled from and the actual sentences where they pulled from. They showed it to you. So there could be no denying someone, I forget what it was. Maybe it was the Russians. Was it the Russians?
Of course.
Someone had done that. But I don't know. I don't know who did it. I
The
don't remember.
Iranians.
But it was interesting because I was like, oh, wow, they can do that? But I thought, think about how many times Ronald Reagan has given speeches. You just listen, someone with painstaking detail, mark down all the words in those speeches, put them all in some sort of a multi-loop, because it's, you have to go like to Phil Spector's house. They have the old school reel-to-reel sound recorders, and piece that shit together and splice it up, and then release it. Pretend that Ronald Reagan is trying to start a war with Iran or something like that.
Yeah, man.
I forget what it was. Do you remember the premise?
No, I don't remember the premise of that, but
Do you remember the recording?
I kind of remember it, but it's a foggy memory, man.
It's pretty wild.
But this is like, to me, fuck the sun and all the things to worry about. This shit is really intense, man. Like, about the hostage, the fucking weird hostage phone thing people are doing, where they're like, you get a phone call from the phone number of your wife, and you answer it, and it's like, we've kidnapped your wife. It's someone freaking out in the background. They're like, send us money or she's fucked. And like, right now what they've been doing is someone will say, let me talk to her. And they just hand it to some lady who's like, and you think, oh my God, it's her. I'll give you whatever you want. People have been sending them money, And like, when you consider like what happens when deep fake technology intersects with just the ability to like call people from spoofed numbers, and that suddenly if someone gets your phone number list, they're going to be able to call your friends as you and record conversations where as they sort of dredge up, who knows, whatever they want. Maybe they want to blackmail you. Maybe they want to get money. Maybe they want to embarrass you. That to me is like so spectacularly fucking weird that we're going to end up having to have passwords that we tell each other away from our Alexas, which is like, listen, if I call you and I'm seeming strange, the password is like, go for 69. Otherwise, it's not me, you know? Because that's a reality. I mean, just look at what people are already fucking doing with spoofing numbers. That's fucked up, man. And like that aspect of it, and also just like supply and demand. In other words, there's one Joe Rogan, right now. But if an AI starts duplicating you and improving on you, like, and I'm saying, 5 or 10 years, no offense, man, but maybe an AI could like turn you twice as smart, make you like whatever, who knows what. And then suddenly you're no longer in demand, in the sense that once the Joe Rogan AI package goes on the dark web or makes its way into wherever, people are going to just be able to download you and have conversations with you and make video. That to me is one of the most bizarre realities that we are entering into, is one where you're going to go on YouTube and there's going to be a video of you, looks like you, sounds like you, but it's like 50 times funnier than you, 50 times cooler than you, 50 times smarter than you, because it's an AI pulling from the internet. It's just you, but better. And no one's going to want to watch you anymore, because they're like, I love the real Rogan, but I want to watch the Rogan whose brain is functioning 50 times the speed of a normal human brain, because that guy, wow.
That's how they're going to take over.
Well,
They're gonna
right.
make us all obsolete.
Better
Versions of all of us. They're going to be like Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, man. And that's not, I mean, even let's say it's 20 years away. That's still too fucking
Let's say
soon.
it's 100. Let's go crazy.
Yeah, we're going to be basically like sort of drowned out by multiple versions of ourselves with exponential intelligence.
Well, that was my concern when I was talking to Kurzweil about downloading your consciousness into a computer. I'm like, what's to stop you from making multiple copies? If you can make one copy,
Yeah.
like what's to stop you from being like, tell me some fat guy with a little dick who's a real asshole wouldn't hack into the system and infest it with copies of him
Yeah.
that just overwhelms everyone else's data, where he is omnipotent and he is literally the ruler of the realm that he exists in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he's figured out how to hack into the grid and take over. Imagine you think you're going to be in heaven. You're going to enter into this virtual reality, but look, you're going to get to fly dragons and have sex with beautiful women and eat fruit. And this fat guy with a little dick, he hacks the system, and then everybody's going to suck his dick. And everywhere you go is a version of him is trying to get you to suck his dick. Come on.
Yeah.
He's fucking people's ears. He's holding people down. 5, 6 of them on a person. Blah, just fucking you from every angle. Blah. That's what he created. And that's what a computer virus is.
Sure.
It's fucking everybody, right? If you think about that, there's a lot of viruses. I don't know, like what percentage of viruses, Jamie, you would know this, are not financially motivated. There's got to be some viruses that people create just to fuck people.
Sure.
Right?
I mean, in the old days, for sure, man. I mean, I think, they were just there to fuck up freeze your computer, fuck up your. They weren't grabbing data to use it against you. They were just like, shutting your computer down to be a dick.
Yeah.
Or making it say weird things. Like, real basic. The old viruses in the days of AOL, remember those, man? They were cool. They were like scary, but not like today where they like shut down the power grid until you send somebody $1 million worth of Bitcoin.
Or you have to completely remap your hard drive, completely re-upload your operating system. It just kills. The only way you got to kill the operating system, swipe it clean, start from scratch. Sorry, it's all cooked.
Yeah.
All your work, fuck off.
Gone, man.
Just like this fat guy with a little dick.
Fat guy with a little...
everybody. Hundreds of them. Like a sea of them running at you, pulling on their half-hard dicks.
There's a story going around this weekend about Samsung TVs having viruses in them, and you being able to scan it for a virus. There's like a program on it that allows you to scan for viruses, and then I guess today Samsung deleted that tweet.
Oh, great.
And people were pointing back to this being in like the Weeping Angel program, where the CIA can use your TV to listen to your conversations, and they are doing that, and they're recording it.
Weeping Angel. What a great name. Why doesn't the CIA start naming the fucking Navy UFOs Weeping Angel? Why do they call it that?
Why do they call it
What
that?
is that? That's why do they have to bring angels? Is that Satan? Is Satan a weeping angel? Is that what they're saying? Like, what the fuck is that? Weeping angel. That's weird, man. That's fucking weird. But like, the implication that they, in your deep fake that they sent out to the world was it already happened. They're like, how do you know this hasn't already happened? In other words, like, how do we know we're not duplicates? How do we know we're not one of an infinite number, an array of like, versions of us that are being populated all over some server somewhere?
Could be. Well, that's the thing about the simulation theories, that one day if things keep going the way they are, like I was going to bring this up when we were talking about people like looking at cities and looking at the grids and looking at the hive. Like, what are these cities doing? Well, they're spreading and they're being productive. They're making things, and they're making better things all the time. Well, if they're making better things all the time, like what are they interested in? Well, they're interested in computers and CGI and artificial intelligence and artificial life, and they're all definitely moving in some sort of a greater technological dependency. Like, we're pretty dependent now, but it's going to get greater and greater, right?
Yeah.
We get more and more. Well, one day they're going to have a reality that isn't tangible, in the sense that without this system you wouldn't be able to experience it, but it will be a reality once you're in the system. Once you're in the system, you will feel your elbows on the oak desk. You will feel the sweat on your palms. You'll feel the sunglasses on your nose. You'll feel all those things. So who's to say that that's not real? Well, if that can happen one day, if they can create an artificial reality that you cannot discern from the reality that you're currently experiencing, how do you know it hasn't already happened?
Right.
You don't. You don't. And, some super fucking smart people think that we should keep open the possibility that that is what we're operating under, or that the stability and the rigidity of the dimension that we exist in is not nearly as firm and not nearly as permanent as we like to think it is.
Right.
Which is one of the reasons why psychedelics is so exciting. And so they're transformative, but they're valuable, but they illuminate the possibility of others, of other things, other dimensions, other life forms, other levels of consciousness, other ways of interacting with each other, like especially mushroom. Well, kind of all of them. All of them, that when you take like a transformative dose, you experience some weird thing where you're like, oh, this is possible too. Like this is like a whole nother way of existing. Like, who's to say that if human neurochemistry, right, if that's what's causing depression and elation and dopamine and serotonin and all these different wonderful things, it's what causes melatonin and all these different things that happen when you're sleeping, and then the psychedelic ones like the DMT. Who's to say that we have to exist with this mixture, right? Who's to say that life with a thicker mixture isn't also possible and might be going on around us all the time? Like there might be these porous sort of entryways into these other dimensions that are consistently opened and closed, and they're constantly around us all the time. But when we're just in straight normal consciousness that we experience without perturbing it with alcohol or pot or psychedelics, we want to think that this is reality. This is rigid. This is it. But maybe it's a reality. Maybe there's a fuckload of them. Maybe when you make decisions, you enter into different ones. Maybe you're constantly shifting the one that's around you and how you interact with people.
You mean like your decisions are the way you navigate through the multiverse?
It's entirely possible, right?
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Even though I say that too many times.
Well,
it is a thing if you just think about how little we understand about consciousness, about what happens when you die, what happens when you sleep, how little we know about what is going on when you're communicating with people, what is going on when you're interacting with people, where are these fucking ideas coming from?
Yeah.
Are these ideas little life forms in a non-observed state?
Yeah, man.
Bro, you taking off the glasses? You getting crazy?
I just realized I don't get to look at your beautiful eyes, Joe.
I was enjoying this. We did it for hours. It's bright in here.
Man, like when you start, the thing you're saying about psychedelics kind of like showing you a different way, and that when you're in a base reality state, people spend a lot of energy trying to imagine a solidity that isn't really there.
Yeah.
And like, as I've been taught by some people, if you start breaking it down just logically, for example, like, your past, for example, you ever do that, spend any time with your memories, and you realize like, well, your most vivid memory, whatever it may be, you can't really taste what you were eating or feel the euphoria that you were feeling or the fear you were feeling or whatever, because if you did, then the memory would not work for a person who was trying to like stay alive, because if you just remember the last time you got punched in the face, you would feel it, and also if you could remember tastes, you wouldn't be so inclined to eat, because you could just go back and think to the last chocolate bar you ate and you would taste it. Or obviously if you could remember orgasms as they are, you wouldn't really need to fuck. You would just think about having sex whenever you had it, and you would come. You would feel like you were coming. So if we look at memories experientially, there's a lot of like senses that aren't gratified by memory. And also if you look at them from the visual field, even the most profoundly, quote, photographic memory is wavery at best. It's not HD. It certainly wouldn't be a 4K TV. It's got a kind of like quality to it that is just, it flow. It's a little transparent.
Yeah.
So then when we think about the future, obviously that doesn't exist. Like there's just no future. Nothing is outside of this point in time. And so then now you've basically, just from a simple analysis of your memories, which a lot of people imagine that's who they are. Like they're a snake. In the present moment's the head, and the back is the past with all their memories sort of intertwined. But you realize, like, no, that's really a foggy approximation of what happened at best. And you really don't remember most of the shit you did anyway. Like, you don't remember what you ate 3 days ago, 10 days ago. So then you realize your whole past, the thing you've been using to define yourself as a person, you barely remember it. And the parts you do remember it, they're not really clear. Yeah. So that's gone. Now that's death. You're dead. Anything that happened before this moment, that's death. It's gone. There's just this, for real. That's not. Now, there might be some neurological encoding, but there's no past. Forget it.
That's why people like to get really good at things, you know.
Whoa, you mean it gives them a sense of
stability? Whoa. That's why if you have a physical skill, like say you could do gymnastics. Like, do you know Chappelle Lacey?
No.
Funny up-and-coming new comic, but he was a world champion cheerleader. Like crazy skills, and he's jacked, built like a linebacker. Well, no, like a football defensive back, running back. Anyway, stud, could do a backflip, just jump through the air and land, and you're like, what?
Wow!
Like what the fuck?
Yeah, right.
When he does that, he knows that he had those experiences.
Yeah,
he learned how to do that. He has a skill. He has a very unusual skill.
Yeah,
like a break dancer. They know. They can do that crazy shit where they can hop around on one arm with their feet up in the air, crisscrossing and going into the lotus position. How many people can do that? They can do that.
They can do it.
That defines their existence in a way.
Yeah.
Because now they're not just living in the moment. They also have knowledge. There's Chappelle.
Crazy.
Yeah. Fucking nuts, dude. There's one that he sent me. I'll send it to you, Jamie, where he flips a girl through the air. Look at that shit he can do. Flips a girl through the air and then catches her on one hand and presses her above his head.
Crazy.
Dude, it's fucking bananas.
Bananas.
So he knows that he can do those things. He knows he can do those things because he learned those things.
Yeah.
So those things carry him. They define you. They give you extra value.
Yeah.
You can hold on to them as a support, like a security blanket in this crazy world. Hey, I can play the piano, motherfucker. Yeah. Let me get on that piano. I'm going to show everybody at the party. I'm deep and I think things that you don't.
The party piano man.
Yes. Oh my God. Sing us a song, you're the piano man.
Inevitable.
Sing us a song tonight where we're all in the mood for a melody.
I exist. I exist.
I want more.
I'm real.
I'm trying to give I'm trying to spray something out in the world that people like to smell, so they'll come closer to my flowers.
That's right, man.
Ah, you deserve more, Duncan. You can sing. You should sing all the time, everywhere.
Oh, thank you,
You should just sing.
I know.
You shouldn't even talk. You're an angel.
I know.
The way you sing is amazing.
Well, I trained for 5 years.
I just like to sit around and listen to you. Have you ever been at a party where somebody breaks out a guitar and actually sings a song like Animal House style? Remember that scene? That scene is amazing.
Yeah, I have. I'm trying to remember. I think that if that has happened, it's one of the memories. My brain's like, we're not going to remember that. We're not carrying that with us because because it's a hostage situation. Yes. Let's face it. Like once they sit down and start strumming that shit, if you're the guy who walks out, look at that fucking hater. Ooh. He can't play guitar. His ego's being challenged. When the reality is, you're like, I don't want to deal with it, man. I don't want to deal with all the levels of having to face the fact that you fired a neuron that made it seem okay that in the middle of a party where nobody was playing music, or maybe music was playing, you turned it off.
Dude, I know of a guy who in the middle of a football game paused the game to show his acting real.
What? Well, that's just lunacy. That's someone who's like sick.
Paused the game.
It's just a broken man or woman.
Paused the game to show an acting reel.
Shambling
Look
husk.
at my new reel, man. You guys got to check this out. The game can wait. Seriously, guys. The game can wait.
He did a great job.
You're going to get a great pleasure out of watching me fake. Watch me fake. Now I'm a detective. Look at me. I got a gun.
Dude, it's a hunger because this is the. I mean, it's like you're talking about backflips. It's like imagine the self is so. the self is so imaginary that we have to exert to the point of doing backflips to give us a sense that the self must be as we think it is.
Sure.
Like, you don't have to exert to be sitting in a chair. Gravity does it for you. There's no energy that needs to be exerted. But how often do you hear someone saying, "What a great day!
Yeah.
Isn't this a great day?
It's a great day.
Great day.
It's amazing.
But why are you saying it? Like, why do you feel the need to exert this much energy to announce to me it's a great day? Could it be that you're not quite certain it's a great day? Could it be that there's a feeling in you that something's a little amiss? So you gotta like paint reality with words to make it okay. This isn't a ghost story. I'm not gonna die.
Is it, or is by saying it's a great day, are you putting out this hope that I'm gonna go, wow, Duncan's such a positive guy. He's amazing.
Yeah.
When he says it's a great day, I feel it is a great day. He puts me in a better mood. Thanks, Duncan.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you look at, like, anytime I've done that shit, I'm too high, I'm getting paranoid, and I'm trying to get some affirmation from a friend.
Yes.
You know, that's usually the feeling is one of need. Like, you know, like when you're around someone, you realize, like, they want me to compliment them right now. And you feel like when they open the fucking doors on a spaceship, they've temporarily opened the doors of the infinite vacuum of
How about worse, when they get upset when you don't compliment them?
Yeah. Wow. That's the craziest thing.
Duncan, I've known you for a long time. You've never complimented my art.
Oh, wow.
My sandcastles are my life. And
I know.
You don't even say they're cool.
They're fucking great, man, okay? Your sandcastles are incredible.
I mean, it's just weird that I have to tell you.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, man. You're great. You're great. You're real. We worship you. We'll worship you forever. You'll be known forever as the great sandcastle maker. That's the funny thing. And also add to that the very same sort of person who is intent on getting you to acknowledge their fucking sandcastles, which is a great description of it, because no matter what you're doing, it's a fucking sandcastle. Look at those glaciers. Whatever you're doing, forget it. But then you have these people who, on top of this sick need for a person to affirm their existence by complimenting their ridiculous sandcastle art, they also want to leave a legacy. That's the funniest shit. It's like it's not enough that we worship you now. You want generations of people to worship you.
That's a big one for people. Leaving a legacy. It's a big one for artists, a big one for athletes. Athletes want to leave records that no one will break.
That's right. Leave a legacy behind, man. To me, this is like being in a dream and wanting to leave a memory of yourself in a dream. Like I want the people I met in that dream, I want their kids to be talking about me after I wake up. It's like when you die, it's done. We don't know exactly what's after this, but you're pretty much recycled, man. There might be some karmic momentum. There might be some kind of residue, a trace.
Do it all over again.
Or you repeat
from scratch.
I've often gotten that feeling. 1
cells, 2 cells, 3, and then you just keep doing it in infinity till you get it right.
Keep that loop going. Like we're essentially in some kind of karmic sanding mechanism.
Right, but if you like life, why wouldn't you want to do it again? Isn't life?
What's that?
If you like life, do you like life? Yes. If you found out that this was what you were going to do forever and ever and ever, and it's going to repeat itself over and over and over again, would you like, no, it's pointless. It's pointless now, and it's finite. Is it different if it's pointless and it's infinite? Is it different? Is it different? Don't you just enjoy life? Is that the key? The key to just enjoy life? That's where it's ironic when you pick up a skill like learn to play the piano or learn to do backflips, or in my case, learn to do martial arts, is that you actually become a better person through learning how to do something, because it's hard. So you learn about yourself. You learn who you are. You learn the bullshit that you tell yourself. Like, to really get good at something, like if you want to get that good at doing backflips, man, you got to fucking actually practice. You can't bullshit yourself. Oh, I really don't need to come into that. To do what that guy can do, you got to fucking practice. And by practicing, you put yourself through this rigid exercise routine, and you do it correctly, and you exert yourself, and it requires 100% of your focus. And in doing so, whether it's playing piano or throwing kicks or whatever the fuck it is, in doing so, you understand yourself better.
Yeah.
So even though ironically you're kind of defining who you are as a person, and you're giving yourself like extra clout because you're the fucking man at dunking a ball into a net. I'm the fucking man. Everybody watch that. Whoosh.
Yeah.
But by doing that, you actually learn how to become a better person too, because it's hard to do. And then if you can figure it out, the puzzle will help you get a better hold of all your human skills, because it'll be a difficult thing. If you really want to get good at something, if you really want to leave behind a legacy, like, you have to achieve a level of focus and a level of intense thinking and concentration that most people are just going to peter out before they get to that spot.
Sure. I mean, that's what I love about what you're talking about, is it's a force field in between you and an elite, like, fuck the Illuminati. The force field of the learning curve separates every single person from a terrain that cannot be reached with money.
Right.
Like, I don't care how rich you are. If you want to learn how to do a backflip, you might be able to pay for great trainers, but you still got to do the fucking work.
Yes.
You got to do the work.
100%.
So this is cool, because now you enter into a realm that is inaccessible by money, is inaccessible by power, but is weirdly, generally accessible by anybody. In other words, the only thing keeping you from whatever the fucking thing is you want to get good at, to show yourself that it is possible to leave the reality that you're in and enter a completely different reality. Because for me, if suddenly I was in a world where I could do fucking backflips, might as well be an alternate dimension. Like, if I got home and did a backflip in front of my wife, she would probably be more amazed than if I, like, levitated. You know what I mean? She'd be like, what the fuck have you done? Well, reality must be fragmenting. So it's like, in other words, the you, wherever you're at, whatever the thing is that you are, there's always this interesting mountainous, rugged terrain separating you from a completely different universe where you can do backflips, play the piano, play the guitar, whatever the fucking specific thing it is you want to pick up. That's kind of cool to me. It's like the only thing keeping you from it is consistency. It's not money, usually, unless it's like you want to be a falconer or some shit. You got to get a falcon. But in general, you could, like, that's what I love about that Goggins, man. I like that guy. Like, it's weird how much he impacts me, even though I'm still not fucking jogging. But in the morning, I will look, and at one point, I thought someone was running next to him, filming him, before I realized it was a car, and I'm like, I want to know who's filming Goggins.
It's too steady.
Yeah, I realized I was disappointed because I thought there was an anonymous. Yeah, he was running, getting no credit at all.
It's probably his fiance.
But to me, that's kind of like, I love that, because it's like, it's equal access. No one is being barred from the learning curve. Now, the specific learning curve, you might be getting barred from. You know what I mean? Like, you want a Moog 1, it's $8,000 fucking dollars, okay? Like, you're not going to get that. You're not going to learn to play that if you don't have that kind of money.
What's a Moog 1?
It's like something that fell out of a spaceship that I'm obsessed with. That,
what?
Like, it's just this beautiful synthesizer, man.
Oh.
It's like,
I was
it's,
like, huh?
Yeah.
Fell out of a spaceship. Dude, I have to piss so bad. Can you talk to Jamie and then I'll let you pee?
Yeah, I would love
I know you
to.
have to pee too, right?
How did you know, man?
Because I could tell.
Shared mine, because I'm wriggling.
You're moving a little funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who wants to pee first? You want to pee first?
What a fucking gentleman. You pee first, because if you announced it, you got to go. I think I can wait.
Okay. I'll be right back.
Okay, great.
I looked this up, the Moog 1.
Yeah, forget it.
What Moog? You have a Moog right now, though, right?
I got a sub 37, but the Moog 1 is polyphonic, and the sub 37 is monophonic, so you can't really play chords on it. But it's not just that. It's like it's a cult around these synths, because they did figure out a way to dial in this perfect, specific, beautiful sound that once you if you like playing music, which, I just do you play music.
So I feel like I asked you this like a year ago. What you just play for yourself mostly? Like, you just like to sit in a room, and turn off the light or put on mood lights or whatever, and just make your own music instead of listening to what people are making for you to listen? Yeah,
well, I like both, but I like with musical synthesis, there's like a weird kind of philosophy behind it, which is not only do you not have to worry about making whatever it is, an album or something, but it kind of like allow yourself a break from imagining you even need to be musical. Just like, you give kids pots and pans and they fucking bang it together. It's just fun.
A friend of mine, Billy Mays III, he's actually the son of Billy Mays. He travels around playing music as under a name called Infinite Third, and he does a thing called Mouth Council, which sounds like almost what you're doing, where he takes a loop pedal, has a microphone, he starts and makes a sound, and then he passes it around to the next person. It's like you would have it, you make a sound.
Yeah.
Then Joe would make a sound, and then by the end of the 8-person, 9-person thing, he knows how to use the pedal enough that it becomes basically a song, almost like a song. It's just a droning loop, so it's not really
I know what
super
you're
musical,
about.
but it's almost like this, and he does very similar things by himself. It gets real cool, but it's just like what you're saying though. It's not music to listen to necessarily.
No.
Like it's got structure.
Oh,
It's to have on and like the background sort of, and like whatever you're doing really. It can be used in lots of ways.
It's like, I think it's just like, you could be, whoever this is clearly a great musician, but also you can just enjoy dialing in these like insane howling alien noises for no reason other than you just are trying to make sounds, and that's it. I mean, it really is like you take that and combine it with most any psychedelic, marijuana, and what you have there is the ultimate fucking spaceship, essentially. That you're just like, you don't need. We were just talking about how it's not the idea behind this is you can get good at it, and these things are so precisely dialed in that if you wanted to be like they teach you music just from interacting with it, but also there's just this visceral like pleasure of making noises through synths.
Whoa.
Yeah, I often think what would happen if you got sucked into this world, like because
Don't do that to me. Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
I would like to put that evil on you. That would be fucking cool if you start playing the Moog.
I swore
one.
off playing Quake. Had to swear off of it. I was playing it again.
Again, I know.
It's hours a day. Hours.
When you asked me, you texted, do I play Quake? And I got the same feeling you get when you have a friend who's like gone sober and they're like asking, you want to go get a drink?
Yeah, man. I had a problem playing hours a day. And I just went cold turkey. I went, stop. What are you doing?
I'm going to I'm going to piss.
Go piss. How long does it take you to piss with that suit on?
This depends on where I'm at. Like in a combat situation, I wear diapers.
Yeah.
But in general, it takes like 30 minutes or so.
Okay.
But I'll be back.
All right.
Great. I wear diapers in combat situations. Excuse me.
This whole episode 1313 was 100% Duncan's idea. I get this text message from him. Hey, man! Can I do episode 1313? He just gave me the finger at the window. I'm like, fuck yeah, you can. I need to do that with you.
I noticed that. I was going to ask if you guys had planned it.
Yeah, well, we planned episode 666. That was also his idea. That was the last time he wore a Pope outfit, and I wore my white NASA outfit. I have a white NASA outfit and an orange one. That was awesome. But yeah, 1313 is a real thing. But we're not really on 1313 because there's like podcasts on planes in there.
Count 70 MMA shows, Fight Companions.
Yeah. Those are hundreds of them. That's a crazy number, though.
Well, you guys are talking about, I didn't want to interrupt the conversation, but this has sort of just come out to help with the deep fake stuff. Adobe's announced that they've got a tool that I don't know how well it works right now. They just show a picture, so they don't show it in action or anything. But it's a way to tell if a photo has been manipulated with Photoshop in some way or another.
Keep that off those Instagram hoes. Nobody knows what anybody looks like. I mean, some Instagram people literally look like cartoons. Like you look at their photos, you're like, "What are you? What? That's not a picture."
Yeah, I've never fucked with the app. It's Facetune, I think, is what a lot of people use.
Is that what they
really,
use?
Like you can just draw.
Dude, some guys
where
use
you do it. Yeah, for sure they do.
Their whole face is blurry. It's like, what's happening here? I had to put my glasses on to look closer at it. I'm like, what are you? You're a spray paint.
Weirdly rosy cheeks.
Yeah, you're a spray person.
What's a spray? What?
We're talking about Instagram filters, like AI.
Yeah.
Adobe's new AI tool can spot when a face has been photoshopped.
Yeah, I
So
heard
saying,
about that.
keep that off the Instagram hose.
Yeah, you got like a.
have
Have
no
you
idea
seen
what
that
those
one
people look like.
Instagram person who is actually a CGI? She's like.
Oh, I've heard of that. Yeah, people didn't
I can't
know.
remember her name. Yeah.
Well, they're saying they're going to do that with the models now. They do that with houses. Like sometimes you look at a picture and you're like, wait a minute, is this real? And like under construction currently, will be completed summer of 2020. You're like, whoa. So this is not a picture of a house. This is a CGI house, but it's got shadows and the floor has texture. I mean, it looks fucking real, man.
Yeah.
I've seen some real ass looking houses. And that's, real estate agents are using that shit. Why wouldn't like a clothing designer have like the perfect body to complement their perfect clothes,
Yeah, that I'm sure you've shown this on here a billion times, but yeah, that you're talking about the AI that just generates people.
Yeah.
That shit
makes fake models. Beautiful, perfect people in every way. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In every way.
I agree. Every way. Perfect, in fact.
It's funny that some people trip out about people that look really good on Instagram, and they say they're giving off unrealistic body images. And that this is something we should stay away from. Unreal. It's like that guy from Vox was doing that about he got everybody's hating on him because he was saying that about gay thirst traps. That they put out unrealistic body images, and that you should think about them the same way you think about cigarette ads or liquor ads. Yeah, exactly. What? No, they're in shape. Unrealistic is such a crazy thing to say when you're actually looking at a real person.
Yeah.
Unrealistic body expectations. No, that guy goes to the gym, and that's what you look like when you go to the gym. That is real. That's not just realistic. That's real. It's not unrealistic. Some people don't want to look at other people that look good.
I read this article by a therapist who was saying like...
Yeah, that was the other one. Delia posted that. Dad bods are more attractive to women than rock hard abs, survey said. That survey said was in front of their fucking fat husbands. 100%.
They also use millionaires,
Did they?
Well, it's Chris Pratt and Leonardo DiCaprio. So.
First of all, Chris Pratt does not have a dad bod. He's sticking his stomach out. He's being silly.
Yeah.
That guy's jacked. I meet him in real life. He's a stud. Who's the other guy? Leonardo DiCaprio?
DiCaprio, yeah.
Do you think that dad bod, like you hear this, like usually you find out this way down the line, but like some phenomena in society was like cooked up in a boardroom, right? Like, for example, let's say, I don't know, you made Twinkies and you realize like, shit, man, people like really getting into this ketogenic diet and working out, and there could be a potential. You probably have some AI saying like, hey, we've got like a health craze predicted for 2021, meaning Twinkie sales are going to drop by like 50% because guys they don't want to be fat.
Right.
And so then you start disseminating into the world like, all right, let's come up with this thing. What's a way to call somebody out of shape, but like to connect it to their virility because they're a dad bod. Yeah, dad bod. So then you start getting it out there. Like, it helps if any product that is like bad for you kind of depends on two things. One, that it tastes fucking good, and two, that you can trick yourself into believing it's worth eating, right? Like it needs those two things. Like, in other words, if there was like delicious uranium, like some lunatic created like the sweetest, most flavorful uranium biscuit, you're not gonna eat that shit, You're gonna go Chernobyl and fucking your stomach's gonna melt at the dinner table. But if you could come up with like, a nice IPA, like you were saying, or some kind of thing that's, it's just poison, basically. It's going to destroy your liver over time. It'll be a slow progression. And you could like sink into alcoholism. Your personality will change and it'll
be like, nobody would do that.
Yeah.
People wouldn't even know what you're saying right now. They go, no one's going to do that. It's such a stupid premise. No one's going to drink poison. It slowly toxifies your liver. Shut up.
Who would even do that shit, man? I would never do that. I mean, I drink because I'm sophisticated. And then like, did you, by the way, read that shit about how like hangovers are brain damage? Like when you have a hangover and you get better, your brain hasn't recovered yet. Whoa. Just the part that you could sense has gotten better, but you have like physiological damage that's happening. Of course, like it's one of those. When you read it, you're like, wait, duh, of course,
duh. But it's fun. It's fun to be drunk.
That's
part of the problem. It's fun to be drunk.
Oh my God,
it's fun to be lit.
If it
laughing and joking.
I mean, that's one of the realities of any great thing is like it is a delight and it is a beautiful part of life for many people. Yeah. But at some point you just start tricking yourself. I mean, that's one of the things McKenna, I love that you said, is like how history has survived alcohol. Like we managed to have that as our sacrament and still we have civilization. wow, it's incredible because it didn't it does turn people into fucking 28 days later, doesn't it?
Well, in some ways,
Slow.
some people it does, but it's really interesting when you consider his idea that at one point in time there were psychedelic cultures that really didn't have our standard intoxicants, right? So they didn't have antidepressants, they didn't have stimulants, unless it was something like coca leaves that they were eating, right? They didn't have processed cocaine, but what they did have was copious amounts of psilocybin, lysergic acid, and different plant forms. There was like a bunch of different things the Mayans used. Ayahuasca, DMT. There was that shaman when they found his bag. They found it was like 2,000 years. How many thousand years old? 2,500 years old. He had DMT in his bag.
Yeah, it's like any fanny pack you find at Burning Man. It's it's literally the same ingredients.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was. That's hilarious. I love when they find that shit out.
What do you got?
The DMT was in that rabbit nose thing, right?
Yeah, the fox nose.
Yeah, that was only 1,000 years old. I thought you were leading down to that 2,500-year-old marijuana that just got found.
Yeah, that's true too. That's a new one. Yeah. So people have been just getting blasted forever, man.
It's the best.
Of course they have been. As soon as they found it, they're like, why would I just go with regular life?
Yeah. It's the best. It's so wonderful that that's being disseminated in the culture right now.
Well, it's also people are decriminalizing it all over the place, left and right. It's slowly starting to happen. Colorado first, always, boom. They're on track. And now Oakland decriminalized it as a city. They put it as the lowest priority. All plant medicines, including ayahuasca.
You saw AOC's tweet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's amazing,
But
man.
she can't get traction. Other people in Congress are like, what?
Well,
it's hard to sell that bill. It's hard to sell psychedelic research. And, MAPS has been doing amazing stuff with soldiers. And you've been to the actual MAPS conference.
Yeah, I have. Yeah. It was wonderful because it's like these, it's as much as I love hanging out with you and like my friends who take psychedelics, it's really inspiring to be around scientists who are sort of figuring out a way to translate that experience into a data set that can convince legislators to change draconian laws because they're doing the hard work. You and I, we get to go on and on and on about the multiverse and the DMT entities.
We can make things up.
They can't. It doesn't matter if they've taken it and had a real experience where some advanced whatever you want to call it, has appeared to them, whether a part of their subconscious or an alien, and said, listen, here's what's going on. We do this with every planet. The first step is we've got to undercut the hierarchical centralized power structure. And we know the only way to really do that is by teaching people that their identity as they think it is isn't quite right. If we can expand the human identity, selfishness goes away. If we can get rid of the problem of trauma and people dealing with trauma by being aggressive to the outside world, then over time, the circumference of the human identity expands beyond the perimeters of me and into us. And if that happens, then we can enter into a type A civilization or whatever they call it, the beginning of a global civilization. But first, we've got to get the fucking monkeys to climb down from the tree of their selfishness.
Yeah.
And if we can do that and we can lure a few people out of themselves, just like getting a monkey out of the tree, so that people are like, wait a minute, I don't think I'm just a me. I think I'm connected to everything, purely interconnected. In fact, I don't think I'm anything. I think what I really am is the connection between me and others. That's where I exist, not in this.
But you are something, right? Because you're very unique. Like, you personally are very unique. You're one of my favorite friends, but you're also one of my weirdest friends. I'll call you up and you're always dude, you got to read this book. It's like, dude, you got to watch this documentary. And we will talk for hours about the crazy shit over and over. But you are very specific. Like, I don't get the same conversation with Joey Diaz. I don't get the same conversation if I call Ari. Yeah. Everybody has a different thing that they're on. So there's something going on that's uniquely you, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, to say, because otherwise you sink into nihilism and you imagine.
What's the point, man?
Right. That's not it at all. It's that you don't exist in a vacuum. It's that's the main thing. And to me, the fundamental problem right now is selfishness. It's like when you're mad at someone on the interstate, what do they do? Something selfish. When you're mad at someone in your life, what did they do? Something selfish. When someone's mad at you, what did you do? Something selfish. Almost always. And this is the reality, is that selfishness is an innate quality of being a human. We are a self. There is a sense of a self, rather, and we feel mixed up in it. But what you realize is like, you know, those fucking times where you authentically, not because you're filming it for your Instagram or whatever, help somebody and you don't talk about it. You just suddenly do it. You're not like giving someone money either, but you get engaged with a person and you're there. And then it's one of my favorite mushroom trips was when I started coming back. And before I really came down, I started thinking like, what was I doing? I was doing something. I was being something. I was being a human. I was being I'm a human. But for a second, I wasn't a me. I had merged into something bigger than me. Similarly, if you just get really engaged in helping people, you'll notice that for that amount of time, you don't feel quite as shitty. And it's not just because you're doing something good and there's some like angel casting blessings on you. It's because you got out of yourself for a second in the sense that you became more than just you. Yeah. You were you and the person you were helping. And that to me is like a really interesting aspect of where we're at as a species, is that the reality is, man, yeah, we're all special and beautiful and wonderful, but also you're not happening in a vacuum. Right. You're completely inexorably interconnected with everything, and you can't get out of that. You're in it for real, and the boundaries you've constructed around you and whatever you think the rest of the world is, they're just in your head. It's not real. You made it up. You told yourself a story and you believe that story so much. Like the poor motherfuckers who get in like the most psychotic cults. You know, where at the end of 10 years, they reveal to you some crazy, crazy shit beyond crazy. You spent like $900,000 in this fucking thing. And they're like, yeah, we all got shit out by woolly mammoths. And now you have to be like, I fucking either believe this and dive in, or I'm like, fuck, I was wrong all this time. Similarly, most people have constructed this ridiculous armoring boundary around them based on, you know, this is bad and this is good and that's not good and that's good and here I am in the midst of it. And that's a real painful situation to be in, because you have to fucking constantly exert that force field situation. And it's really, I think, why so many people are depressed and exhausted and can't really relax. Because how can you relax if you're constantly in a state of creating an imaginary barrier between you and infinity called yourself? It's a really exhausting, probably, practice to be engaged in.
And then there's some people who impose themselves on other people. They make their life and their problems 100% of the focus of this other person, so that person becomes an enabler. You see that with husbands and wives sometimes, or even with friends. Like one person is the active asshole, and then the other person is the fixer-upper. Man, Mike fucked up again. I got to go get him. You know?
The active asshole. Centralization, man. And it's like our whole, from like our family structures usually to like the entire way we run our government is usually centralized around one key identity. And that we've had this conversation many times on the show, which I like, the preposterous nature of a king, a president, a pope, a bishop, a world leader, a teacher, whatever the fuck it is. It's preposterous. And it's also quite dangerous, you know, because it's like, not only do we have the situation of the parasitic friend, but even worse, you can get into the situation of the charismatic friend who's tricking you into into the idea that you could do something called cosmic hitchhiking. That's what Chogyam Trungpa calls it, which is basically the idea that like, I'm going to use you because you are so great and you will be the thing that helps me become a real person.
It's another chosen one.
Yeah.
You're the chosen one.
You are our teacher. We worship you. Om, show us the way.
Imagine being born the Dalai Lama. So from the jump, you're something special. You're the chosen one. Yeah. You're the one. You're the reincarnation of who? Who are they supposed to be?
Oh, they're a tulku is what it's called. So it's the tulku system. And the way it would work would be, you know, because you have, like, if you look at the history of Tibet, it was called the Hermit Kingdom and it was closed off from the rest of the world. It's very hard to get in there. 7 years in Tibet is about somebody who made it through and became friends with the Dalai Lama as a kid. Anyway, so within this system, there is this idea that beings reincarnate. And that if you're awakened enough, if you're like really like at the sort of last phase of the sort of, what would you call it? The cycle you were talking about earlier, then you stop losing at least some of the amnesia that happens when you get processed through the liminal in-between period called the bardo between this incarnation and the next. So anyway, they go to children, they put in front of them the particular items that belong to the previous incarnation that they think they are. Oracles, visionaries bring the monks to a particular village, and then the kid picks it. And then that big kid becomes the next this or that. It's called a tulku.
How many kids do they look at?
I don't know, man. I don't know the depths of
What
it.
if the kid turns out to be an asshole? Can they take his powers away?
Well, I think it has happened where tulkus are like, it's similar to like, what is the thing where those kids get one summer to go, like the summer of fucking? What is that religion?
Oh, yeah, that's Amish. That's
Springer.
Rumspringer?
Yeah.
Rumspringer.
What is that? There's a great documentary on that.
Yeah.
Something, the Devil's something.
The Devil's, it's like a great name, the Devil's Summer, but it's just
Devil's
like
Playground.
The Devil's Playground. Woo! I want to go there. Where's
and
that?
they fuck and they smoke, and then a lot of them come back.
Well,
They feel empty.
I believe that was one of the ways they studied the impact of MDMA, wasn't it? By like, because like these, like if you find someone who's taken MDMA but no other drug, it's pretty rare. So you need to find a person who's only taken MDMA. Otherwise, you can't assess if there's some cognitive damage, because it could have been the acid, it could have been the mushrooms, it could have been the time you fell on your ass when you were hammered. Who the fuck knows? But these kids, some of them have only taken MDMA, and so I believe that they used them as a sample to like determine if there was any kind of neurological damage caused by the drug itself. But so I think a similar phenomena happens within that system where some kids are like, I'm not a reincarnated being. I'm a musician. I want to go play music, and they leave.
Do you know who's a musician who's also a reincarnated being?
Jimi Hendrix?
Steven Seagal.
What?
Yep.
When did that happen? I didn't know
They
that.
told him. I think the Dalai Lama might have hooked him up.
Told him what?
One of those guys over there told him that he was the reincarnation of someone super special.
Jesus God.
It's a big deal over there. Like,
Well,
they had a ceremony and everything. Here it is.
It's from
What does it say?
1997. This is the long written thing about it.
Oh, that's a lot of words.
I know. That's
Can't
the
even
guy's
read
name
that
that
shit.
made it.
The recognition of Steven Seagal as a reincarnation of the treasure revealer Chung Drag Dorje
wow.
of
That's exciting.
Palyul Monastery. So he's a reincarnation.
Well, that's comforting to know he's always been with us, because it's like one of the things that does bother me is to imagine a world without Seagal, so it's cool to know he's always been here, coming back again and again.
How come nobody was ever a loser in a past life?
Oh,
Everybody was always a fucking
no.
awesome
Oh, you mean? Oh, right. Yeah. When
people that are full of shit.
full of shit people. Yeah, of course. Like, what are you gonna be like? You know what? If you're making money as a fucking psychic, and you're like, whoa, you're basically like a gutter rat. You've only been a rat.
You lived in filth.
You weren't even. You're a mucus thing. Like, I'm not sure what you would call it. A kind
Box
of
jellyfish that killed babies.
You're a tapeworm. You're one of those lungworms that went into someone's brain.
You're
and then
trichinosis, motherfucker. You're uncooked pork.
you were a moth. You were the whole to me the whole reincarnation.
He's a Tolku.
Yeah.
A Tolku.
It's a statement from the guy.
I'm recognized my student, Steven Seagal, as a reincarnation Tolku of the treasure revealer Chung Drag Dorje.
Wow.
Since there's been some confusion and uncertainty as to what this means, I'm writing to clarify the situation.
No
traditionally.
clarifying necessary. I'll see you later, man. I gotta go.
You might be full of shit. Meanwhile, Seagal's got 5 hookers going to this guy's house right now as we speak.
Well, also so there's talk of ending the Tolku system, and the Dalai Lama has even said that, and recognizing that, because what's cool about the Dalai Lama, among many things, is that he said, he's very rational, and he said if science proves something in Buddhism is off, we'll change Buddhism to fit the rational mind. I mean, that's the beauty of Buddhism. There's pageantry in it. There's ceremony. There's ritual in it. Just like any other religion, it's beautiful. Personally, I think that there is a sort of area of experience accessible through their practices that I guess could best be compared to psychedelics or something like that. But to me, what I love about it is all the pageantry aside and all of it aside, it's not faith-based. It's a very basic series of ideas that you have to digest, you have to think about, you have to look into. You don't just get to be it. It's like, you know, maybe some forms of it, there could be an example of that, but in general, it's more along the lines of here's the basic fundamental principles behind this knot in the cording of a human life that we've discovered. Here's where some suffering is coming from. All the suffering, in fact. And here's how to fix it. That's the Four Noble Truths of Buddhism. And that, just hearing it, who gives a fuck? You could hear life is suffering, the cause of suffering is attachment, get rid of attachment, suffering ends. Here's a system to get rid of attachment. And, you know, whatever. Life is suffering. What does that even fucking mean? Right. What does life even mean? What does it even mean by suffering? This first noble truth, it gets completely mistranslated anyway. Dukkha, it means wobbly wheel. It's more akin to like if you're riding a bike that's got not enough air in it, it's going to be a rough ride. But it's going to be even more of a rough ride if you have somehow tricked yourself into thinking there's enough air in the tire. So that anytime you hit some bumps, you're like, what the fuck is wrong with the world? You know what I mean? That's right. It. That's it. It's like wobbly wheel. The thing's wonky. You think you're not going to get disconnected when you've been on the line with Verizon for an hour? You're going to get disconnected. It tends to happen. You're going to get cut off in traffic. You're going to fail. You're going to be disappointed. This is reality, but somehow you've imagined that it doesn't work like that. And every single time you're met with the truth, you're like, oh God, this sucks. And, you know, so that creates a lot of problems, and it creates some ways to deal with it, which is desire and aversion. So you're somewhere and you want to be somewhere else, basically. You know, you're somewhere and you're like, I don't want to be in this place. Or, you know, you're imagining that if you get this thing or that thing, the pain you're feeling of the wobbly wheel will go away. Do the experiment. See if it's true. See if it's true. That's all you can do is like really look at the shit that you want. Like I could come home and Moog could have pulled up and given me 7 Moog 1s, right? And I'm going to sit and play those fucking Moog 1s for weeks and weeks until I'm sweaty and smell like fucking just someone shoved a salami under the balls of an ape, you know? I'm not going to take showers. I'm going to just be oozing a stink and like probably weeping into the Moog and sneezing into it. Anyway, the point is, eventually after the distraction has gone away, I'm going to return to my fundamental self, you know, the fundamental condition of existence as it is, regardless. And so this is sort of some of the principles as I understand it, which are really quite intelligent, you know, it's really, and what I love about it most of all is there's always this invitation, which is go see. It's not because I'm telling you this, believe it.
Right.
It's like, go see. Maybe it's different for you. But you need to go check. Like every time you're doing the thing that you've been repeating over and over again, is it making you happy for real? Is it really working? Is it working? And if it's working, great. But if it's not, and you're trying to pretend it is because you've been doing it so long, well, who's winning this game of self-deception? What? There's no winning if the game is tricking yourself. You can only...
What do you do? Like, how do you feel about life if you're always tricking yourself? Hey, Twitter world.
Yeah, man. That's right. You will only feel that everyone is trying to trick you. And you'll feel like there's a grand conspiracy. And you'll feel like the world's out to get you. And there is a grand conspiracy, which is that you are running a game on yourself. Yeah.
I feel like we should end with that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's very important for people to hear.
Yeah.
It's true. And I think it resonates with all of us. We've all done that at the lowest points of consciousness in your life. You've run a little trick on yourself or to get past things, you know. And I think some of that trick is run because you don't totally understand who you are and you want to. So maybe I'm this guy. Maybe I'm a hardcore Republican. Yeah, you know what? Those fucking Democrats, they tricked me for far too long. I'm over here now. Yeah, I found my home. Found my home over here. And that's one of the things that people do. They really do. They hop from idea. I used to be a vegan, but now I'm a fucking carnivist.
Yeah.
I just eat all steaks, ribeye steaks
Great.
all day long. You know what? I couldn't believe what a pussy I was when I was just eating vegetables.
Congrats.
That's a lot of it, right?
Yeah, man.
And it's almost exactly like what we were talking about with religions. That you look down at these grids, and these grids are run by different operating systems that require different behavior from their women. This operating system, you can't drive. You got to dress like a beekeeper, and you have to do this, and you have to do that. This operating system, you put a plate through your lip, and you got a bone in your nose. And this operating system, everybody gets face tattoos. And this operating system, and no one eats pork. So no. God does not. In our operating system, you get the same thing. I think with right and left, with vegan and meat eater, with pick your poison, like whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
Whatever thing it is that you're into, especially ideological, especially lifestyle based, there's always an opposing one. Like the people that don't want people to be gay, or the people that, even a lot of the abortion stuff. A lot of the abortion stuff is like, how much of this really well thought out behavior, and how much of it is how does your tribe respond to this? And one of the ways you can tell, especially if you're talking to a hardcore lefty or a Republican for that matter, we can offer two examples. But one of the ways you can tell is hardcore lefties do not like to discuss late-term abortion. You say, well, what if it's a fetus? What if it's a baby? What if we're talking like 8 months in? Like when it's a woman's right to choose. It's a woman's right. No, it's a baby in this person's body. Like, when is it a baby? Look, I'm 100% pro women's right to choose. I'm 100% pro choice. But late-term abortions are fucking weird. It's dark. It's strange. And everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. But if you're a hardcore lefty, you won't say it. And then hardcore righties, what if you were raped? What if you're a little girl, a 13-year-old girl, and she was raped? You want that girl to carry her fucking baby? Are you crazy? She was raped 4 weeks ago. We found out she's pregnant. What do you want me to do? You want me to pray? How about fuck you?
Right.
How about fuck you, my raped little girl is not going to have to carry someone's baby, you fucking asshole.
Right.
And the idea that you're invisible man in the sky that watches over everything you do but allows rape to occur, allows little kids to get raped. You want that little kid to carry a baby? I'll fucking kill you.
Right.
You're goddamn crazy, right? There's people that feel like that too.
Well, this is, if you want to find the commonality, the common thread, it's just the way you were describing, which is a natural reaction to someone saying that to you or controlling your life in that way. It's aggression. So like on both sides, it's not that there's an articulation of a point of view. It's that the point of view is being flavored with anger, with aggression.
Yes.
Pushing.
It's a woman's right to choose.
Yeah. And it's, or it's not, or whatever. Yeah. Both sides have within a quality of aggression.
Yep.
So this is, not to oversimplify things. The reality is, man, we got to cut ourselves a break. And you know this, and you've articulated this better than anybody. We were monkeys not that long ago.
Recent.
Go look at monkeys, see how they act.
Crazy.
Right. So number one, give yourself a fucking break. You, in the evolutionary, from the evolutionary perspective, you're just barely waking up. But because you've been a monkey, inside of you, there's some serious aggression, because that was the way to deal with the eagle that was bigger than you, that carried your wife away to feed to its chicks. You were gonna fucking have a sit down with the eagle and be like, listen, I know you need to live. And my wife, I imagine she was delicious. I've been, farming for the last several years and feeding her
every day.
And the baby's gonna die because he was drinking her milk and all eagle. But listen, I wonder if maybe you could just spare the rest of my family. What you're gonna do is kill that fucking eagle any way you can. Fire, spears, whatever. Yeah. So now to think that has gone away is very similar to a person who takes a vacation and suddenly realizes, I can't relax. Well, you can't relax because for the last fucking year, you've been going nonstop in a state of constant stress, freaking out. You're on vacation. You think that momentum's going to go away? No, it's just going to be more apparent. So you're going to I'm going to guzzle it down and try to fuck it away. But and then you're on the airplane hungover, and it's like, you know what I mean? You're all fucking hungover. And it's like, what happened? The vacation's already over. So that's what has happened to us, which is like, listen, we've got it good right now. But it wasn't that long ago that saber saber-toothed tigers were dragging our children into the fucking jungle and eating them, and we find feet that were our kids' feet in a bush somewhere.
Yep.
And this trauma is in us epigenetically. So anyway, the point is, give yourself a fucking break. But the other point is, that being said, recognize you're being aggressive. Your approach using anger and intolerance is not working. It is as noble as your purpose may be. You want a global civilization of joy, whatever the fuck it is. It's not working if you're using the exact same momentum that causes the wars that you're hoping to stop.
Right.
So the first step has to be, I think, an internal, personal exploration to create some, not to even get rid of the aggression or to be like, I'm bad because I'm angry or I'm all that bullshit, but to create to find out what is the circumference of the self. And then within that, you realize the thing you thought was all of you, that coiled up fucking anger, is in fact a tiny piece of you. It's still there and it's still useful at times, but it's not all of you. And because the circumference has widened, the next time the angry part of you starts bubbling, it's just like, it's the difference between somebody throwing a brick in a bathtub and a brick in the ocean. It's like a brick in the ocean, no big deal. A brick in the bathtub, fuck you, dude. Why are you throwing bricks in my bathtub, bitch? Get the fuck out of my, who are you? So that's the idea, is like, we're not trying to annihilate the self or say this person, this human being you are, it's irrelevant or it's not worth this or that. It's just, what is the circumference of your identity? And that's the exploration, I think, that Buddhism invites people to do, or any religion that is real and good. It's inviting people to, like, find out what you are. And then as a natural byproduct of that exploration, you become a little more gentle. And because you're gentle, you're more effective. That's where it gets really weird.
Yeah.
Gentleness seems to be quite often what was my friend saying? He's like, if my dogs are outside, I'm like, get the fuck out the fucking house. They're not coming in. But if I'm like, come on, I love you, and you really mean it, they come running into the house.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. It's like the aggression stuff, it worked, man, because of the eagles and the tigers and all that shit. But you know what I mean? Now maybe there's a new way.
Yeah,
to do it.
and we're stuck. We're stuck with the DNA that's got us through, had us survive the eagles and the tigers.
That we needed it.
Yeah, we needed it.
Don't fucking don't like revile it or something. Like, in fact, love it.
I think that's part of the appeal of the dad bod, part of the appeal of, like, someone talking about unrealistic body expectations. You're really talking about, like, less reliance on the flesh, the virility, the athletic ability, the ability to conquer, the ability to breed and spread your genes and fight off predators and enemies and invaders. It's not nearly as necessary as it used to be.
But necessary.
But the people who are not capable of it despise it because they think it's the problem. They think the ability to conquer is the problem.
Yeah.
The strong. And if everyone was weak, it's essentially the argument for socialism.
What's that?
Well, you don't have it. If you don't have it and you see other people have it, like, I don't think anybody should have it. How about that?
Oh, yeah, and it's also
It's part of it.
Yeah, I do. I mean, people have encountered, like, the thing is like, take a person who has some chip on their shoulder about dudes with muscles, right? Mm-hmm. If you look at it, that didn't happen by itself. They didn't wake up one day and like, I fucking hate biceps. What happened is, like, people with muscles who were traditionally, like, ideally meant to be warriors and protectors in a noble way, they've gotten really aggressive. Like, you see, and it's not all of them, but how many videos have popped up of, a police officer, I'll blow your fucking head off, get the fuck.
Sure.
Because the kid took a doll,
Yeah, like that video we were talking about. Yeah.
Yes. So it's like, so similarly, like, sometimes what's coinciding with the muscular thing is also a dominant aggressive attitude. So the two have become mixed together.
Yes, they conflate them.
Yes, and there's if you've ever been around people who are real fighters, usually they're like the most gentle people you've ever met.
Super nice people.
And it's unnerving because, like Eddie Bravo, he's nice, man. When I'm around him, like, I forget that I could just suddenly be dead. I mean, if you didn't
Sure.
forget it, you'd be nervous around him all the time.
Yeah.
Like, you're in a great conversation with him, enjoying his company, and then like you could just, that's it.
Yeah.
So similarly, like this is what happened. So the idea is like you've got a continuum of possible ways that humans express themselves. On one side, you have the condition of like the noble warrior, which is a trained, disciplined person who's literally putting themselves in front of others. The samurai, you talk about it a bunch.
Yeah.
Who's fading into the background, who doesn't even give a fuck if anybody knows they did anything heroic because they've given up on that. It's a very spiritual way of being.
Well, then there's also the concern about the warmonger. Like, why does the warmonger exist? Is the warmonger like the firefighter that starts their own fires?
A lot of the times, yeah.
Because they live for that. They live for that experience because that's what they desire.
Yeah. If you want to sell umbrellas, you need it to rain. Yeah. Well, yeah. But this is again corruption of a potential ideal, which is like, regardless of the fact that we've all kind of like witnessed various examples in pretty much every profession of what it looks like when things aren't so great and imbalanced. There's also examples of people who are the opposite of that, who are like completely, in service, who like, how many firemen got fucking incinerated in September 11th, man? And the truth is, I can't name, unfortunately, embarrassingly enough, I couldn't name one of them if you paid me to. These are people who literally gave their entire life up, who went up that fucking thing. They didn't think they were coming back down. They're firemen. They looked at that and they were probably like, yeah, I'm going to die. I bet I die today. But they're like, if I don't do it, well, no one does it. So that's an example of how good it can be and why we need it and what it can really be. That's a sacred way to be. And the exact same is true for pretty much every profession. And yet, when aggression gets in there, it fucks it up. It sours it. It imbalances it. And it's like ultimately completely ineffective,
And it's also another version of selfishness.
Yeah, right.
Right? What we were talking about before being the problem. The real problem with a naked aggressive behavior, naked aggression, meaning unprovoked aggression, is that it's entirely selfish. Like, I want what you have. I take, I conquer.
Yeah.
That is selfishness in its worst, most primal form.
That's right.
And on that note, we're going to wrap this bitch up. Duncan Trussell, you're the fucking man.
You're the man. I miss you. Thanks for having me back on.
I miss you too, man. We need to do this more often.
I hope we do.
always say this. And let's do a shrimp parade too. Where's Chris Ryan? He's driving that fucking van around the world.
Chris Ryan is going to come back here enlightened.
Really?
Look at his picture. Every picture, he's getting further and further out in the woods. Like, I don't know where he's like.
What is he doing?
I don't know.
I love you, buddy.
Love you too.
Bye, everybody.